Hello there, and welcome to this is the post show from Skylar and Max Powell. They had a very interesting conversation, and we're continuing it on with some of the people that were there at the end. So please continue.
And we're all silent.
I had Idiot Box talking. So beyond you're making some statements about evolution. So I'm just going to assume that you agree with Matt as far as his, I guess, incredulity towards it.
I wasn't there. I only caught the last 5 minutes of the your debate or conversation or whatever was going on in the other YouTube. So
Right.
I can't really speak on what everyone was talking about because I didn't hear.
Okay. So basically, how about we just, I guess, focus on your statements. So I guess tell us what you kind of believe or don't believe, and kind of a little bit of your background as far as your knowledge and expertise.
Well, my expertise is being a knucklehead in life. Let's just say that. Wild child, in and out of juvenile detentions, jails, a lot of foolishness, as the world may say.
Scientific tap.
What's that?
Bob, you're echoing.
Yeah, I
What?
clicked on the wrong tab, so go ahead. Sorry.
But as far as are you asking my knowledge on science?
Yeah, specifically.
Specifically, zero.
Okay. So I mean,
I would say, high school level.
Okay. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And so the reason I ask, because I find that that's a better thing to do instead of just trying to go at somebody's arguments, because more often than not, people are just misinformed. And I think it's better if we have a starting, point, and then we just kind of go from there. So
yeah, I've came across and studied in some high scientists, but as far as came across some great minds and actually know some people that's in the science field. But me myself, totally illiterate. That's like that's like me saying I got a Mexican friend, he speaks Spanish, and acting like I know how to speak Spanish because I could say a word or two.
Right. I mean, at least you're very honest about that. So is there something that, I guess, about evolution that you were kind of, I guess, struggling to understand, or someone didn't explain that well?
Well, see, as far as evolution in itself, there's different forms of evolution. It depends on what mindset or what theory you're looking at, correct?
So specifically, I'm referring to biological evolution, the way different species can have sets of alleles. There are different types of genes that can travel through a population over generations and generations.
Yes. So essentially on evolution, what would your take be? What did we start from? Where's point A into where we're at? Where A being the start.
So the start would be actually a different concept called abiogenesis, where we have the first cellular organism that would be the progenitor to all life as we know it. And that's actually a separate topic entirely. So is that what you meant when you were referring to evolution?
Yeah, I mean, because the start point and the start point and to where we're at is as far as we're evolution. If we're evolving, then we should be growing like wings and be able to fly and do better than we're doing right now. Because it seems like instead of evolving, a lot of us are not me myself, but people are getting autism, cancer. It seems like we're devolving. So if evolution was true, we should be getting better instead of going backwards.
I think I see the issue. So it's what I kind of call a gross conceptual error. So when many people think of evolution, they have, and I kind of blame like popular media, like Pokemon and stuff like that, because what gets labeled evolution is actually metamorphosis, and that's when people kind of get confused. You can have organisms evolve to the point that they have no defenses whatsoever, and that you introduce one species that is not native, and it can decimate the entire population because they don't have the proper traits. There's actually a really famous example where a cat was introduced to an island, and there's a particular, I believe it was a small bird that had no contact with any type of predator like that, and this cat wiped them out completely. So when we talk about humans now, that's something a bit different, since we are technically an apex species. We don't have any predators, so that's automatically one selective pressure removed, which is predation. And another is that we no longer.
You never came across a gold digger?
No,
I'm just kidding.
yeah. I mean, figuratively, yeah.
We
I
got
see
some
what you mean by
predators
that.
out here.
Yeah, we do.
You never, there's some
Figurative.
promos and stuff. Watch out, yeah.
No, I agree. But the thing is, we don't have any animal out there
I'm just
actively
kidding.
hunting our
Make a
young.
joke.
No,
Yeah.
I know. But the point that I was making is that there's nothing out there that feeds primarily on humans. So that's already one. Another issue is that we now have the ability to make shelter almost anywhere. We have people living in every single region of the world where you only have certain animals that are confined. They are geographically isolated. And so then they will grow according to, whatever that area, whatever it's called, an ecological niche. So they will fit into a specific little facet within that area, and that's it. And for many, especially mammals, there's what's known as like a saltwater barrier. So you won't see species cross saltwater barriers. But for us, we can do it anytime we want to. We have planes, we have boats, all types of things. Other animals don't have that. So when we talk about evolution, we typically remove ourselves from it because we don't have those type of selective pressures. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess in your way of looking at it, it
Well,
doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to me, but I get what you're saying.
Well, the way that I'm looking at it is the way that it's actually studied in the field. Is there any way that you're looking at it that I'm not aware of?
What did you go to school for exactly?
I'm in school right now, doing my undergraduate in biology with a specialization in molecular and cellular biology for cancer research.
Yeah, I could tell that you're pretty educated.
Only
by
slightly.
speaking to you. No, yeah, I could tell you're educated in speaking to you. Let me ask you. So, do you have any spiritual beliefs at all besides science? Like you sound like show me the facts kind of guy.
Yeah, I am definitely a show me the facts kind of guy. But I wouldn't say science is spiritual to me. That's my passion. But it's not who I am as a person. If I have anything close to spiritual, that would be my connection with nature, because I am an avid fisherman, and actually I'm going to be getting back into fishing here in a few days. That is where I connect. That is where I feel a kind of a oneness with the things around me, not necessarily in a lab next to, beakers and flasks.
Yeah, that's crazy you said fishing, because I was just speaking to my friend about getting my fishing license earlier today. Yeah, I like to fish every once in a while too. I kind of wish I lived out in Florida by the ocean so I could actually catch some real fish, but
Yeah. Many of the scientists that I work with, they are also avid fishermen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing. But to think about everything, I don't try to come at attack anyone's, some people believe in Big Bang. You believe in evolution. Two completely different theories, completely different subjects.
I'm glad you
But
say
some
that,
people,
because there's a lot of people who conflate them.
some people mix those together. Do you mix those together?
No, those are in two completely separate fields.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I know some people. Yeah. I don't always come across educated people trying to talk about things. Sometimes you come across people that say, well, the Big Bang Theory happened and then evolution happened.
Yeah, some people do that for a reason. And let me respond to something real quick. So people do that because they like to approach things chronologically, and I think others do it because they want to kind of, I guess, obfuscate from the real issue. But I think most people, just the way that they think, the way that they approach most things in their life, they just do it in a certain series. And so for them, it's like, well, let's start at the beginning and then go forward. And I'm repeating myself. So if we want to start there, then that's where the conversation should start. Because having to go backwards, that's a lot of ground we have to cover. And it's almost impossible to fully cover everything from the physics down to also understanding the math that goes into the physics, and then coming to the chemistry that it gets applied to that, how everything was formed, and emergent properties started to appear at whatever time period. And then, then we get into a bit of the biology, and that because there's so much that you can honestly pack into these conversations that it takes people literally years to get. So I try to stay within one field and maybe just reference another field in passing, but not concentrate on it too much. Does that make sense to you?
No, that makes absolute sense. And that's kind of why it's like that almost points to why there's a God. Does that make sense to you?
No, actually explain that to me.
All right, yeah, let me elaborate on that. Because let's say, sorry if you hear all that snoring. I got a pit bull sitting in the back. My dog's laying on the bed. He thinks he's a human. He's sprawled out and snoring. So if you could hear the snoring, my bad. But anyways, elaborating on that, think about this. There's people that may study a certain body part, maybe the hand, and they may, to be an expert in just the hand on how that works, they may have to go to college, just a hand specialist in all the intricacies in the hand for 8 years just to get their master. And even more if they want to further and be a high specialist. And they could almost spend their whole life to try to figure out just exactly how the hand works, from all the intricate whatever things that go on with the hand. You have to spend your whole life just to specialize in one area. Same with like somebody that's like studying like nature. So like, oh, let's go back to fishing. Fish, just to study all the fish in the sea. Think about how many fish there are. Do you know how many there are?
No, we're still discovering many fish species.
Exactly. So think about that. Think about that in itself.
Yeah,
the
no,
magnitude.
I know a guy, a buddy of mine actually, who is a marine biologist. So I'm somewhat familiar with the training that goes into that. But I guess what I'm trying to do is I guess connect these years and years of study and dedication to a God claim. I guess that's where I'm having issues.
Yeah, well, the God claim would be this all didn't come from nothing. You see the master design and everything. I know that you're smart enough to know when you look at, if you go down to Chicago, if you see the Sears Tower, better known as the Willis Tower nowadays, but better known as the Sears Tower, but renamed the Willis Tower. Or if you look at, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, you look at one of those buildings and the first thing you think is, oh, I wonder who designed that. Because it just didn't happen from nothing or evolve on its own.
Right. We know that there was a human mind that created that at some point.
Well, and humans are made in the image of God because we're small creators.
But here's the problem. We have evidence of humans building things. We don't have evidence of a God doing that. To make the claim is just an assertion.
You do have evidence for it. You just haven't searched for it yet. I've been there with y'all too. Trust me. I mean, I didn't always believe there was a God, or even there was a time when I would mock people about God. And I read in most religions too is, let me tell you this, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus Christ, but most religions are a joke. Most religious people are a joke. They're foolery, and they're real judgmental, and they're a shame. I respect most atheists and non-believers way more than I do most Christians, so-called Christians, because they're some of the worst examples of people.
Well, if I could chime in, I'm kind of a middle ground here. I mean, I've talked to Drag before. I don't know if you know. I'm an agnostic theist, so I believe, but I don't claim to know God. So, in other words, I'm not in the middle. I'm in the middle ground. And I think what Cliff Jumper was saying actually about buildings, I can kind of back up where we have multiple examples of buildings we know were built by humans, but we have exactly one universe that we cannot compare to any other universe to know what designer it was. That's the only thing I wanted to kind kind of share. And I'm not saying that my point is I'm not saying that God didn't do it, but to assert because you don't see any other way it was made, to say that God must have done it, that's an argument. Well, what is it? An argument from ignorance? And that doesn't mean, and I hesitate to use that because it makes it
incredulity.
Incredulity, yeah. And it doesn't mean that, it's not true, but it's just to simply just say, I don't know how God must have created it because I can't think of any other way it was done.
Yeah, you can design all you want from the universe,
right?
And that's fine, but you don't really have a good way to substantiate it.
Correct.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying because let's say there's a universe here and there's a different universe here and different things happen over there. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, well, not necessarily, because because you bring up a point where you said grand design, where you see, here's a building that was designed, and you can see another building that was designed.
Pretty much. What if there's other master builders? Is that what you're saying?
Well, what I'm saying, as far as we know, there's only one universe. We know there are multiple buildings, and we can see who created them, but there's only one universe. So I'm not saying that it's not, but just to simply, put a stamp and say that definitely was God. That's what the argument I think Cliff Jumper was pointing out.
Let's say this, because we have a lot of intelligent people in here tonight. I mean, and I'm not disrespecting anyone's intelligence. What was that?
He was making it. He said Midnight said you don't know him that well yet.
Oh, well, hey, trust me, I've done my fair share of foolishness in my life, and I'm still probably not done with all of it. But, anyways, as far as tonight, let's just say this: there's some things that but just like gravity, just like the air, just because you can't see things, it's physically there, right? And it exists.
Yeah, and we can measure those. I think that's the difference. So when people bring up these examples, is that
well,
I can tell you how fast gravity pulls things to the earth.
Well, let's say this: what if a person has anxiety in their body? Mm-hmm. You can't measure that unless a person tells them. But you just have to accept in faith that they're really suffering with anxiety.
Oh, there are tests you can do to detect anxiety now. We have that.
Well, even so,
really. Temperature, you can look at temperature, body movement, even just the looks in someone's eyes.
Well, that heavy anxiety, panic attacks, you'd see sweating and whatnot. Yeah, I understand that. But paralysis.
Let me stop you for a second here, bud. Right, things like abstracts, or things that we can't see with the visible eye, magnetism, gravity, anxiety, or whatever. They still have measurable effects on the world that we can see, measure. I just used the same word twice in a sentence. Somebody kick me now. But when it comes to other universes, right, as far as we can tell, they have no measurable effect on our own universe. There's no way to tell whether or not they're actually there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense, because one thing about science and one thing about astrology and that in space study is it's mostly theory, and it's mostly a lot of theory. Not all of it. Of course, there's a lot of science that's fact. You jump off a cliff, you're gonna fall. On this earth. Gravity is going to take you down. You're going to fall. There's a lot of facts in science. I'm not saying it's all theory, but there's a lot of theory, especially in the space world.
Well, two points of clarification. You mentioned, and I'm sorry I didn't mean to interrupt, but earlier you said astrology. Did you mean astronomy? Just to clarify.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Two different. I bet the Bible people are going to say I'm speaking blasphemy.
No, it's fine. I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
I talk about. Yeah, I do studies on that too. Sorry, I minced my words right there. They come close. Now I'm gonna have Christians saying, "Man, he's promoting blasphemy."
The question
I got Christians attacking me all day, and I'm a Christian, so go figure. Now I don't really have atheists attack me. I'm actually cool with a lot of atheists, and not that I have the same views. It's they respect. We have a general respect, and I respect them. They seem to respect me. So, but most Christians, it's a lot of Christians get full of pride before they speak, and I'm not gonna speak on who does that, but a lot of Christians like to just some appear to know it all, and I don't think that's a good stance to stand anywhere, especially any type of field you're going to go to. I wouldn't want to know it all doctor, because, well, then they're not going to do more studies on how to cure more disease, right?
I said some time ago that ignorance is the purest form of ignorance. When someone is absolutely certain of something and they can't have their mind changed, then they're ignorant, because they will never be inquisitive enough to learn things that they don't already know, or be open to ideas that they don't already want to believe. And the other thing as well, which is based upon what you said a moment ago, I treat everyone with respect until they prove they don't deserve it. You know, just because someone's a Christian and I may have different views from them, it doesn't mean to say that I will treat them disrespectfully. You know, so I tend to mirror how someone reacts to me. Someone's nice to me, I'm nice back, and so on.
Absolutely. You know, respect is the policy. You know, honesty is the best policy. You show respect, you get respect, and I respect everyone in here for being respectful. You know, we obviously, some of us don't have the same views, but like I said, I'm not going to say I know it all, because I know there's some people in here that know some science and some things that are way more advanced than me. I do have to come in here and say to anyone, if you seek the Lord and you really call out to him in all honesty, he's going to have to reveal himself, because scripture says that if you believe on him and you pray, he's going to have to reveal himself in some way to you. Not in a physical form maybe, but it's going to happen, because I seek God, and that's just what happened.
I tried it. It didn't work.
I tried it and it didn't work.
Yeah, for me, I don't know.
Okay, let me add, I don't know which one wants to go first. In what form did you try? And who did you call upon?
I called upon God or Jesus, and I said, you know, please tell me in a way that I would know it to be true.
What exactly tell you what?
I was open in my heart, if you know, to use the metaphor, and you know, someone said, do this and you'll get your answer will be given. And so I asked. I was honest and asked about, you know, and nothing.
Asked what?
I asked to show me that you're real. I think it was. I can't remember exactly what I prayed for, but it was, you know, please reveal yourself to me in a way that I will get it. And I think I may have even said to myself, you know, even if I can't prove it to other people, it only needs to be good enough for me. And that's
I don't think it really matters on how we asked, because you can't judge if we were sincere or not. Only the God would be able to judge. So no matter how we described how we asked to you, you could always, or anybody could come up with a reason. Well, that you just didn't do it hard enough, or you didn't do it in the right way. Then I could talk to someone else, and they can go, well, yeah, it sounds like you did it the right way, but maybe God just hasn't answered you yet. So that's just kind of a pointless question to ask, really.
It kind of is.
I mean, I've had I've considered it. What I would need to become a Christian or a believer in any God, for that matter, and I would need 2 revelations. You know, that let's just use the Christian God as an example. So, you know, imagine I have a vision of Jesus who comes and sits on my sofa and chats to me for a few moments. You know, my naturalistic mind would say, okay, what happened there? That was weird. That was freaky. Okay, let's go through a checklist of normal, real things, you know, because that's the way that I'm built. You know, that's how I operate. So, you know, did someone have I eaten bad food? Did someone put something in my drink? You know, am I having some reaction to medication? Am I having a psychotic episode? Was it a dream? You know, those sorts of things. I'll go through the naturalistic checklist. And if at the end of that, I've explored it and I can't, you know, I'm now going to be primed. I'm going to be open to a second revelation to confirm the first. That's what I would need. And any God that's omniscient, omnipotent, knows exactly what's required to make me believe. Now, I have not had that experience yet. So there are, my current position is, you know, that either that God doesn't exist or doesn't want me to know. despite my honesty in wanting to know what is true. Because, to use the Matt Dillahunty quote, I'd like to believe in as many true things as possible and not believe as many false things as possible.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And maybe God is still working. I don't know. You know, I mean, there's no time, because listen, I'm gonna say this. Me being a Christian, when I call out to God, does he always answer? Does it always feel like he's no, absolutely. Has God showed up to me and walked in here and said, "Hey, what's going on?" or revealed himself to me in that manner? No. But have I seen the unseen? Yes. What do I mean by that? A real life demon attacked me in real life.
What does
And
that?
and
what is
what?
that? Explain what that is.
Well, let me say what that is. Okay, I don't know if a lot of y'all have heard of like third eye, manifestation, law of attraction. These type. Have you heard of these type of teachings?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so
Phrasing, but may have heard of the concept.
Sorry, I just came back. What topic are we on?
Third eye manifestations.
What?
I was
Never mind. I'm sorry.
no, I
Just
was
follow
asking.
along.
I was asking if anyone has heard of these type of teachings, third eye, law of attraction,
Oh
these type of.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have.
Now with you mastering in biology, have you studied physics at all?
I've taken 2 courses in physics.
Okay, so physics. So these people, scientists that are physics, a lot of them believe in the law of attraction. Have you heard that a lot between those people?
Colloquially, yes, people refer to the opposites attract, but that when you talk about that in physics, that's not the same thing. That again, it's not even. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they try to mix that together. I mean, but it's a big upsell.
Well,
It's a big.
Yeah, is it Reiki? Reiki manifestation? Is it quartz, like that kind of stuff, like the chakras or something?
Oh, we need
No,
13 isn't here for that.
that's a little different. I've studied into that, but that's a little bit different.
Okay.
There's a lot. Yeah, well, a lot of them teachings all go together. It's all false teaching. I mean, it's pretty much you could pretty much lump all of them together and work them all together. They all kind of borrow and choose from each other. Anyways, long story short, you know, I'm practicing. Well, let me say this. I have met people that could read people's minds. They could read your mind. I have come across these people, you know, claim to be Shaolin monks and whatnot. Certain type of people that do have certain type of limited earthly powers. You know, I'm not going to say exactly what they got, but they have been able to do some unexplainable things. And so I got into this third eye meditation, this type of stuff, and things were looking like they were manifesting for me. I started my own small business. I had a small dealership at one time, and things started looking like I was really like my thoughts create reality with action or whatnot. And yeah, one night I was attacked by a real life demon. A demon manifested, attacked me. And I already believed in the Lord Jesus Christ before this a little, though I never studied the Bible or anything. I just kind of like believed, but I didn't believe. So I was involved in all this false spirituality. And then through the demon attack, the only thing I could think about was casting out in the name of Jesus. When I did that, it disappeared and I never had a demon attack again.
Now, question for you. When you said you were attacked by a demon, was this a physiological thing or a neurological thing?
Physical. Listen, this is what happened. Okay, I don't use drugs or alcohol, and I'm not disrespecting or judging anyone that does. I just choose not to. I mean, in my younger days, I'm 31. In my younger days, I used to binge drink and do a lot of stuff, but I've been sober for years when this happened. So it's not that I was in my clear mind. I wasn't somewhere where someone could have slipped anything in my drink. I was at home all day, normal day. And well, anyways, yeah, later I fell asleep. I got woken up out of my sleep by this demon. I was on my bed. It put me in a chokehold. I'm getting choked out. So my first move, because it looked like a little alien. My first thought was, you know what? Pick this thing up and throw it against the wall. So I go to move. It put me into a paralysis state. Now, make no mistake about this. This was not sleep paralysis.
I was just about to ask you that. It
No,
sounds
no.
like sleep paralysis.
No. Because I've had sleep paralysis one time before this, and that was because I was on medication. That's different. That was years ago. So I know what sleep paralysis is. This thing, it was like almost like a weird movie, like where it's like the enemy, grabs you, puts you like an alien, chokes you up, and then puts you in a paralysis state. So, okay, it put me in a paralysis state. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. The only thing I could do was think in Jesus' name, cast this thing to the abyss. Because the Holy Spirit and I didn't even know how to cast out demons, to be honest with y'all. I already believed on the Lord Jesus Christ years prior to this, though I never read the Bible or studied or anything. I never wanted anything to do with church. Actually, I hated everything to deal with anything talking about church. So I could relate to a lot of y'all in certain way. I'm not saying that y'all hate church or anything, but I'm saying I did. This is my opinion. This is my story.
Can I go over a few things? I just want to make sure I'm following. So you said you felt conscious, you felt awake, right? And you could determine like your environment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You could not move, but you all of a sudden felt like it was a overwhelming like fear or dread, like you sense a presence in the room.
No.
So you didn't feel anything.
What's that?
So you didn't feel a presence or anything?
Sorry, someone was clicking in. Someone was trying to call in on my phone. You got cut off for a second. What were you saying though? Say it from the beginning.
So you said you felt awake. You were awake. You were conscious, but you could tell everything that was around you. You were in the moment. So, but you couldn't move. But you knew that there was something there. Like you sensed the presence.
No.
Okay.
No, big difference. Listen, I was sleeping. I got woke up out of my sleep. The thing started choking me. So, and like I said, it's small. It was small. It was not that big. I was like maybe 1/3 the size of me. So my first instinct was to grab it up and throw it. Then it almost like knew I was thinking I was going to throw it. And right when I thought I was going to throw this thing, it locked me up in a paralysis state. And then my next move was going to be scream for help. And because I'm like, because I was going to yell out to my brother. So, I was going to be
scared?
What?
Were you scared?
It was a demon trying to choke me out and I couldn't move. Of course you'd be scared.
Okay.
You about to be dragged to hell.
Well, I'm on the sleep paralysis project, man, and you hit almost you hit every point on here.
Listen.
Yeah, I've had the exact same thing happen to me.
No, listen.
Exact same thing.
Okay. Well, then you were under demonic attack at that time. If the exact same thing happened to you, you could have cast it out in Jesus' name and never had another attack in your life. This only happened to me one time.
Because I brought that up to my priest, and he told me to go see a sleep specialist.
Well, you know what? Your priest is in error. And most priests don't know how to do this because it wasn't taught to them. You could only be taught.
I thought Catholic priests were taught how to do that.
Catholic priests are in major error. Most Catholics will be going to hell because they believe in their works to save.
It's funny you mentioned that because when you were talking about the whole ask God, reach out to God and ask him to reveal himself to me, I did, and he told me to become Catholic.
No, that wasn't God talking to you. That was some other spirit, deceiving spirit.
Yeah, so I mean, regardless, I think it is interesting. A lot of the stuff that have been purported to happen in ancient times, we now know that many of them were neurological conditions, or just conditions that were elicited by certain substances. Actually, a funny story. Everyone here knows about the Salem witch trials. Well, based on the symptoms, we can determine that during that time they ate, a particular bread, and this bread is susceptible to ergot. And guess what happens when you have ergot poisoning? Guess what some of those symptoms are? Same symptoms the girls felt.
It's basically LSD.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fungal rye. I think is it from rye wheat? Or what is
I think it's
You're
rye.
coming from somebody that's done that type of drugs before, and I didn't experience those type of things. So I've done a lot of drugs in my life. I've done shrooms and all that.
it's a
But
different experience, effectively.
during this time period, I've been sober for years, so I was, like I said, total clarity.
How do you know it was a demon? How do you specifically know it was a demon and not something else?
Because the Holy Spirit interceded and put in my thought put it in my head to cast it out to the abyss in the name of Jesus. And the second I said that, it disappeared, and I've been all right ever since. And this happened about a year ago.
Wait, I have a question. How do you know? Yeah. How do you know that what you thought was the Holy Spirit wasn't actually the same demon, so that it could trick you by then disappearing to further convince you of some other demonic stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. And you know what? I elaborate and I pray on that, and it's like, God, if you're real, I need to know because that is a question that cannot be answered. Right there, that is a question, but that can let you know too. There definitely is more going on than we know.
I definitely agree that there's always something we can learn. There's always something that we can discover to help us understand this world that we live in. But what I kind of caution myself and others to do is to just simply apply supernatural causes to things that have really, worldly, corporeal, causes.
But you see, like I said, the worldly experience. This was one of those type of things where when you know, and you just know 100%. It's like if you walked out into the middle of the highway and you got hit with the car and you're flying up in the air, you just got hit. And now you don't know that what may happen, but you just know you just got hit.
Well, the problem with that is everybody who saw you got hit also knows you got hit. Yeah. What you're kind of describing is a personal. Well, no, you're right. What I'm saying is the thing you're describing is something that no one else really can know based on the fact that it was your own personal experience. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but personal experience that cannot be demonstrated to other people is not an effective way of showing them that it really happened. So I'm not discrediting what you're saying, but that's what I'm getting at.
I think.
Let me say this to you. You all, whoever had that attack where someone said they had a similar demon attack, and let me say this to everyone that's in here. If any of you, especially any of you have this happen to you, or if you know anyone that this type of sleep paralysis with the demonic attack has happened to you, give them this statement, or you use this statement. Cast it out to the abyss in the name of Jesus. And if that works for you or the other person, you might want to think there may be more to it. That's all I'm saying. Now cast it out to the abyss in the name of Jesus. The minute you do that, you'll never have another attack of sleep paralysis demon, ever.
I've never had the sleep paralysis one, but I do remember having night terror work a couple of times where I've literally woken up, myself out of bed and started hitting something.
Night terror is different. I've had a night terror like once or twice in my life. That's different. You're like real fearful. You might pull the covers up, be paranoid. You might be looking around the room, and you might even sweat a little bit in your sleep.
You definitely won't pull the covers up.
I literally climbed out, I literally jumped out of bed and swung my arms around as if I was hitting something.
Night terror is it's like a waking nightmare. My 6-year-old son has them.
Yeah, it was a dream.
That's different.
Twice in my life, but it was
night terrors is a lot different than what I was talking about.
Well, I think the only real difference is that you believe something more than what I do. You believe demons exist.
No. It would be like, listen, it would be like if somebody came in your house, I'm not saying like if someone, not your house, if someone came in someone's house, okay, per se, and choked them up and then shot them up with the IV and put them in a paralysis state, no difference, except for this was supernatural. The demon choked me up, put me in a paralysis state. This is even worse though, because it's no face, no case. So who am I going to persecute? I mean, you can't call the police. You can't call 911 because guess what? That assailant is not of this world.
Well, I mean, when I was a child, I remember quite vividly because my mum said, always shut the curtains when you go to bed. And I decided, and I was probably about 7, I think. maybe 6, and I decided I was going to be daring, and I left the curtains open, and I woke up in the middle of the night with a dragon looking through the window, and I pulled the covers off my head and sweated myself until I fell asleep, hoping that this dragon wouldn't notice this child-sized lump in the middle of the bed. And it was just a dream.
That was Dragnot's Pokemon thing, by the way. He put that up there. He told me about that.
Yeah, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night with a distinct feeling of dread. I felt that I was aware of something in the room that seemed to have a very distinct and specific hatred for me. I found myself unable to move. When I was finally able to open my eyes and look in the middle of my room, it was the big bad wolf from the Disney Three Little Pigs cartoon. And then I woke up. I mean, like, textbook.
Interesting stories, but still, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean,
like I said,
real quick, going back to what I said, what Jim just said, basically, you don't believe, but he's talking about his own personal experience.
No.
Yeah.
I do believe it, 100%. And it actually, the crazy thing about it is, demon attacks happen in all different forms. It doesn't always have to look like an alien. It can look like a dragon. Demons can affect people in different ways. And demons don't always have to manifest in a physical sense. They hardly ever manifest in a physical sense. Usually it'll be in a mental sense where they attack the mind.
So here's one of the biggest issues with that is that when we talk about trying to attribute things of the mind to the supernatural, there is no way that you could falsify that, because you could literally say every time I have a headache, that's a demon trying to possess me, and there's no way for anyone to invalidate that.
It is. Make no mistake about that. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's like you see the issue with that. That is the issue.
Yeah, no. Hey, listen, I just thought I'd put that story out there. That because that's what really brought me onto line, talking about the Lord Jesus Christ more. Though, like I said, I believed more, so I would have been just like one of y'all, probably mocking Christians, and not saying that y'all mock Christians. I'm just saying, sorry for me to prejudge anyone in here. I'm just saying there's ignorant atheists. You don't sound like an ignorant atheist.
I mock people sometimes. No, I fall into that camp too. I can do both. I'm versatile.
Yeah, I don't know anyone in here, so I don't want to judge anyone, and because that'd be rude for me to just say. Well, first of all, it's rude to lump anyone up in a group because every single one of us is different in here, in some way or another.
MTG man.
Yeah, but so we need to introduce you to somebody.
I was about to say.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Who's G-Man?
You don't want to know.
Yeah, I second that.
Really? You don't know who G-Man is? Oh, but
maybe we should introduce him to G-Man and make him not a Christian because
no, he's been too nice for that.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
So I want him to stay a Christian. So let's not
jump straight to Mr. ID.
Is there in the room?
No, that would if we introduced him to Mr. ID, he'd just fall asleep. That'd be so boring.
Yeah, no, Beyond seems nice. Nothing too bad. He's a little nuts for my taste, but.
Well, I have a theory about Mr. ID that I don't. Anyway, but yeah.
I don't know.
Let me ask everyone in here one thing. We all don't know everything, right?
Well, obviously.
Oh heck no.
No, I do know everything.
Well, that's your ego. Don't worry. I've been there too.
Yeah, between me and my brother, we know everything.
Well, I've been there too. That's just ego talking, though.
I think they're being sarcastic.
I know.
Anything you like.
No, I'm not being sarcastic though. There was a time where I thought I knew everything.
I think that's a problem.
Everything I do know, so.
I think that's called being 10 years old.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's a funny statement about people knowing everything. I don't think that people need to know everything in order to have a good grasp on reality. Given where our society is and how far we've progressed, having almost unlimited access to information now is a thing. So no one needs to study for years and years and years or become a polymath to have the facts. So I'm not really sure where
this is what I was going with that. One great thing about knowing God and my relationship with God is it's almost like all the pieces fit together that you were looking to fit together, that you didn't know where they were, and you could almost see everything in the full picture and everything come together. If that makes any sense.
Believe what you wanted to be true in the first place.
Yeah, that's just a bias.
No, because there's a difference between believe what you want to believe and the truth. There's a difference.
To me, that seems like a bias, because I used to be a believer, right? I actually believe that God gave me healing powers, right?
Let's hear that.
And so when I lost my faith in God, things actually seemed more understandable. It seemed like it was just easier to understand life and how things actually worked. My life actually got better. I was happier. Everything just turned around for the better.
Elaborate on your background. Just brief synopsis on what type of religion and healing powers and what brought that upon you. What
he
type
was level
of
16 druid.
Yeah. I grew up in my mom was a Catholic. I grew up in like a sort of Christian household. It wasn't like indoctrination or nothing. I got married. I went to church. Me and my wife both got saved at church. I was 25.
Hold on. Stop right there. How were you saved?
That doesn't matter how I was saved. Like I said,
no.
There's no right way. There's no right way or wrong way to be saved.
There's only one way.
I honestly believe that I asked honestly with all my heart, and I honestly believed I was saved.
Well, no. See, that's the problem. There's only one way. John 14:6. You have to believe on the Lord Jesus Christ because that's the only way. Simple belief on. Listen, in the Bible, there's only one question where it said, what must I do to be saved? And it's in Acts 16:30-31. And it says, what must I do to be saved? And Paul replied, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ and thou shalt be saved. That's how simple it is. That's what most churches don't want people to know, because if everyone knew the simplicity of going to heaven, then no one would attend church, because it's a control.
I did believe. That's where I believe my healing powers came from. Okay, I thought I was supposed to be
healing powers.
I thought I was supposed to be a healer for Christ and for God. So,
Did you?
Did I what?
Did you heal anyone?
My ex-wife, yeah. At least I thought I did.
Well, there's a big difference between thinking and doing. Did you heal her?
At the time, yeah, when she used to have cysts on her ovaries and pains, and I'd place my hands on her and the pain would go away. So
for how long?
For weeks at a time, months, and then it would come back. So, but the pain would go away, right? And I realized that it was the placebo effect, that we both wanted the pain to stop, so the pain stopped because I placed my hands on her. I actually didn't stop the pain.
So you believe in manifestation of thoughts?
There was time before I started doing that, she would be in pain for like a day and a half or day at a time. When I put my hands on her, the pain would go away within an hour after starting. So,
So you've seen Mark 16:17-18 then. Signs of a believer: they shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. That doesn't mean it's going to be a full recovery, but if you kept doing it, it would have probably been a full recovery.
What was that verse you just read?
Mark 16:17-18.
Yeah, those aren't actually in the original, right?
What's that?
Those have been added to sometime after the 4th century.
Yes. Well, let me tell you one thing. You got to be careful with those verses, anyways, because there's some churches that tempt God and play games with them about I don't know if any of y'all heard like rattlesnake churches with down south. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm familiar with verses. It's these people in my name, they'll be able to hold snakes or serpents. It says in King James.
Yeah,
they'll be able to handle them. They'll be able to drink poison. It won't harm them. They'll be able to heal people by touching them. That kind of,
and that doesn't always happen. Listen, I'm not gonna listen. Those signs, people want to tempt God with those signs. The serpents and things like that, drinking poison, those aren't meant to be taken on a literal. Those are meant to say, okay, if you're out getting firewood and accidentally get bit, you'll be good. Because I know atheists too that get bit by snakes and they're fine. So that doesn't mean they're a true believer.
Yeah.
but
The problem is that speaking in tongues, which is the other one on the list of those, that one's the one that everyone seems to be able to do. But the drinking poison thing, people tend not to chance it.
Well, if I might jump here, one of the things that I've noticed is that if you take part of the Bible non-literally, then why should you take any other part of the Bible literally?
Yeah.
Well, no, I take that literally because I've seen some of those signs. I've casted out devils. I've drank deadly poisons before, and
Sure, I
I
understand
laid
that.
hands on myself. I've recovered myself from many things. So
Right. But the thing of it is, though, if a certain part of the Bible, I'm sorry, I should introduce myself since I'm a new guy here, just real super quick. I've been following a lot of you people for a long time.
You people.
And you people, you heathens.
What do you?
what
Go ahead.
YouTube is this, anyways? I don't even know.
Drags a black
I
man.
got invited.
You people, he gets triggered.
This is Cliff Jumper. Cliff Jumper has been a part of this community. Oh God, a few years longer than I have actually. So
I just found the community not so long. Joining the community, I should say. I've seen and I've read and I've been. When I say you people, that's basically inclusive of all human beings. So if you get triggered by that, it's not mine.
It's a joke.
It was a throwaway.
Oh my God, I'm so triggered right now.
Real quick.
I know. I get triggered when I touch myself with my left hand instead of my right, but that's
Well, no, real quick. Tell me, is that cat photoshopped at all? Because that's awesome.
No.
I hope not. That cat's fucking wicked. I hope it's not photoshopped, but I think
it's a British cat that looks like Hitler.
Oh my gosh.
What is this video called right now so I could find this original channel on YouTube?
Actually, Cliff Jumper, can you just put your watch link in the external so he can get it? Well, in the outside green chat.
Yeah, but anyway, my name's Mark, and I followed along with a lot of the things, watched a lot of the videos for a while, been following some of the channels.
Hi, Mark.
Hi. Figured I might as well fucking jump in the deep end and get it over with and play around. I am 49 years old. I am a former veteran. I am also a former Southern Baptist fundamentalist. Right now, I guess you could basically call me an atheistic Satanist, although more LaVeyan Satanism than, a theistic type Satanist.
You get along with Tyler Durden very well.
Yeah, he was one of the reasons why I joined the Great Debate today. So I have a background in biblical or in New Testament. In the New Testament, I have a small background in not really the Old Testament. I went to seminary for a while until I learned some shit in seminary that they don't teach you in churches, and abandoned the whole thing and then joined the military.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't believe in the Bible anymore after I went to seminary school.
Really?
Absolutely
No,
not.
the thing they teach you there
most
is
all of them. Most all seminary schools are in major error and turn away more people than would ever help.
Just as a quick aside, so there's knowledge in the seminary that would turn you away from your current beliefs. So you
carnal knowledge. There's only the seminaries pump out Pharisees, religious Pharisees.
It depends. It depends if it's an evangelical seminary or if it's based in historical and critical summarization of the scriptures as manuscript evidence shows. The thing of it is, if you look at the Bible through the eyes of a belief system, you don't get certain things, how the Bible was constructed, when it was written, who it was written by, why it was written. And when you get to these things, you find irreconcilable differences. I've been speaking German too much. Anyway, you find problems that you cannot reconcile that shows
bring up that one.
the Bible's
Bring
errant.
up that one. Sorry to cut you off. Bring up the problem you cannot reconcile. What's the biggest problem? The biggest scripture that you have like that seems to contradict, or bring that up right now.
Yeah, hold on for a second.
Real quick, beyond just a quick aside, you said you tend not to lump people together. You just lump together Catholics, people who go to seminary, and most pastors who went to seminary in the past 30 minutes.
Yeah, and
as a general broad observatory, like, well, first of all, I'm gonna say not all Catholics are bad people, and some of them are truly saved. But if the religion as a whole of what it represents is in error, so I cannot go along with it.
Yeah, it's because they
That's
praise
very
Mary.
gracious of you to say that some of us are
Well,
saved.
no, not just because they praise Mary, other things.
Well, one of the issues that that's problematic, and I'm trying to remember what it is off the top of my head. It's the death of Jesus. At what time did Jesus die?
Oh, I thought you were going to go with who bought Potter's Field.
No, that's one of those discrepancies where you could go, doesn't really affect doctrine. It doesn't call into question any other accuracies. But when you stick to the New Testament only, and you take the four Gospels and you read them, say, horizontally instead of vertically, and you put them side by side, Mark will have a certain time that Jesus died. Matthew and Luke don't say a thing about it, and John has a completely different time.
The sunset.
It's not what Matt said. Matt in the last hangout said those four Gospels line up perfectly with each other.
No, they don't line up perfectly with each other.
No. I mean, not only they're not line up perfectly, but Mark is really small, doesn't mention the birth of Jesus in any way, shape, or form.
Well, John, even from a non-strict theological perspective, actually is a clear outlier because it says a lot. I mean, I don't know.
Or like another.
When it comes to the resurrection, every single one of them says different things.
Sure.
Different aspects.
But see, a neat thing is, one of the things they teach you is, why does that gospel say what it says? For instance, the genealogies of Jesus. Matthew and Luke have two different genealogies of Jesus, and if I'm not mistaken, I want to say Matthew goes into the set of 14 and 14 and 14 to establish great things happen every 14 generations. Thus, Jesus is the Messiah, not, just staying within his gospel alone. And then Luke establishes a different gospel, wanting to say that Jesus is the Messiah because of a different reason, and has a different genealogy that lists different grandparents for Jesus and different Uzziah's father, or was the grandfather of someone. I don't have this in front of me, and this is all impromptu, so it's a problem that presents itself that you can't reconcile with apologetics.
We could just drop that. So you think there's major contradictions. So what would be your main reason for walking away and just saying, you know what, what was your just, this is done for me? Where was that moment? Why?
Middle of the Iraq desert during the first Gulf War.
What happened?
Yeah, we got a fire mission. We blew some shit up, killed a bunch of fucking people, and then the chaplain wanted to come around to each of the firing platoons and talk some stupid shit about how God is this and that. And knowing what I have known from seminary and stuff, we put two to two together. Something just don't jive. Doesn't work.
So right after you killed a whole bunch of people, you stopped believing?
No, I wouldn't say that. It's a cumulative effect, but the tipping balance was the first Gulf War. That was the tipping balance, but it wasn't a certain instant or a certain individual occurrence, but it built up over a long period of time. It's not like you just wake up one morning and say, God doesn't exist, ha ha ha, I feel better, now I'm going to go kill me a baby. It's just one of those things that builds up over a very long period of time.
So, okay. I guess. Well, I guess I had to just leave it at there because I guess I don't understand and see everything from your side. You said you stand as like a Satanist kind of right now.
I like the LaVeyan philosophy. It's basically aggressive humanism with a slightly pissed off slant. I wouldn't say it's supernatural in any form or way, and it's more along the lines of a basic screw you to society at large. I would imagine. You could say.
Oh, so you're not like siding with the devil. You don't believe in the actual devil itself.
No, I do not believe in a theistic entity that is the bad guy and caused everybody to sin.
Okay, so it's more like just joking around. Just okay, I get what you're saying. It's like you're a Satanist, but you don't believe in God or the devil. It's just like like you spit in the face type thing.
It's based on Anton LaVey. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that
I
correct?
know who that is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone says he had a deathbed confession, and yeah, I've heard all about him. Yeah. I mean, I don't know him. Never met him. Never talked to him. And at one point in my life, people would have probably thought I was the devil himself. So I have no offense against anyone claiming to be Satan. Actually, I have some friends out there that do heavy metal music. I don't hang around them or hang out with them anymore, but I still have love and respect for them. And they're Satanists, and they really believe in the devil and really do some whatever they do. I don't know what they do. I don't hang out and do that type of stuff. But no ill will towards anyone. Just trying to figure out where people are at.
A lot of them are insurance agents now, I've heard. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I mean, I'd have a problem if they were like cutting up babies or something, but I haven't met anyone that do that. I mean,
yeah, I seriously doubt that there's Satanists out there that sacrifice babies. That's more a sensational headline from the late '80s, mid '90s satanic scare when everybody got really.
Well, you see a lot of Christian channels out there that convey that message. There's people out there like that. I don't know if you've seen the videos, but I can't stand some of the things that Christians get going around pointing the fingers at everyone instead of pointing the fingers at themselves.
But
everyone's got that.
Yeah, do you believe in a hellfire or annihilation?
I don't stand on either. I haven't been showed the revelation. I know what scripture somewhat says and somewhat doesn't say. So you could really look at it from two different points and see clearly from both sides. I guess that's just between you and God. And I don't take a stance.
Yeah, either way, the question was to the point where you don't see them killing babies, so you don't really pay attention to them much. But if they're leading people away from Christ, that's actually worse than killing a baby, isn't it?
Yeah, but one thing about it is we all have choices as human beings, correct? We all have free will.
Yeah, but you can be heavily influenced by someone and led astray. Even Jesus says, anyone who causes one of my children to stumble, should have a millstone tied around his neck, right?
Yeah, so it'd be better for them.
And that's why I come around people from all different walks of life, and I tell them how I feel. Now, if they have a disrespect or they treat me disrespectfully, then I'm going to shake myself up out of the room and leave. But if everyone's respectful with me and they're not trying to, I don't. Yeah, I take a different. I take a Bible stance on things, but I also everything is not 100%. meant to take 100%. You have to go with the Holy Spirit and how He's guiding you.
Well, can I ask you, is it ever okay to lie?
Is it ever okay to lie?
Correct.
I mean, it is. I would say yes.
Well, that's biblically correct as well.
I would say because
I was waiting
listen,
for Bob to bring up the Nazi officer.
If your grandma was wearing a coat and she said, "Is this cute?" Oh yeah, Grandma, you look good.
I've made a joke that if your wife/girlfriend says, "Does my bum look big in this?" the answer is never yes, unless you want to have an ex-wife/girlfriend.
Yeah, see, there's some times where it's just like respect Trump. See, the main key about the Bible is love trumps everything. If you're on, so there's two greatest commandments is love God and then love your neighbors thyself. So if you're loving thy neighbors thyself, you want people to tell you nice things, so you tell other people nice things to raise their confidence. Sometimes we all need that extra confidence boost because this world can beat us down.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I brought that up for two reasons. One is that, the 10 Commandments are usually held as, in high regard as, permanent.
Doesn't say don't lie.
I do not bear false witness.
That's not lying.
That's right.
Okay. Well, anyway, no, I brought it up to try to get Bob to bring up the Nazi officer. There are no Jews in our attic example. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
Don't trigger Bob.
Many Christians do follow old Mosaic law, and they do try to like hold those dear to their heart. But then they want to pick and choose. Don't you see how like it's funny? Some people will be cool with like gossiping in the church, but God forbid a gay person goes in there, they're going to hell. But you were just gossiping, and that's a sin. But that's okay to be gossiping and talking about people, but it's not okay for this person to be gay over there. Now, I don't condone the gay people. I'm not gay myself, but I don't condemn people. I don't. In the Bible, God didn't come to condemn anyone.
Well, I do have a compelling argument for gay people and gayness in general. She-males. And when I say she-males, I mean it this way: you're predisposed. I know these are bad words in a lot of conversations or arguments, but you're predisposed to be attracted to a certain type. Now, this type can be based upon all kinds of things that you grew up with in your environment. This might be a type that you prefer, but 9 times out of 10, there is a certain type of individual that you find either sexually attractive, pleasant to look at, or nice.
Yeah.
You're one of those people that thinks it's not gay to fuck traps.
Females are guilty of fraud.
I'm not into it. I'm not into
They're
that. But I'm saying
fraud. That's what they are guilty of. Fraud.
I have seen she-males that look better than any biological woman that I've ever seen, and they've had a certain body type that I was attracted to, and it was more or less the build than it was the organ, and that's why I say she-males when anybody brings up gay,
Yeah, that's big in the Filipinos.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
You wouldn't know. You think it was a beautiful Asian woman that comes across path. You would not know.
Tell me more about that.
What?
Tell me more about that.
I mean, I don't know too much specialized, but I've seen videos. I've seen YouTube videos about guys getting tricked and swindled, and I'm thinking, man, that's fraud.
Oh
that's
man.
wrong.
If they look good enough to pass it off until you actually get the pants off, you're not to blame as far as I'm concerned. That's what you were attracted.
I'm a Christian, so I don't do anything like that, man.
Of course not. Of course. I mean, if you already have it in, you already have it in. You might as well finish.
Look, he without sin. That's all I can say.
Can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
Just because you know the biology, is there a dominant chromosome with quote unquote she-males?
What do you mean a dominant chromosome? Are you talking about people? Okay, I think we need to outline a few things. Because I think I would get what you're saying. There are people who have aberrant chromosomes when it comes to their sex chromosomes. One example is like Klinefelter syndrome. that would be one of these aberrations. Now, people who are transgender, they have the correct number of chromosomes and the correct, sizes and shapes and all that good stuff. They have surgeries and whatnot done so their physical bodies can match their mental state and their brain chemistry and whatnot. So it has very, very little to do with their actual sex chromosomes. Because I think is that what you were getting at? Like people who have chromosomal issues and they develop sex organs differently?
Yeah, I guess my primitive understanding of biology would say that males have male chromosomes, females have female chromosomes, and then if you have both sex organs, maybe I didn't know what that would look like.
Well, Drake, wasn't there a female once that had both X and Y? Or
Yeah, you can have. Well, what happens is you get bar bodies, and that'll happen. I want to say, and CRISPR, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Klinefelter is 2 bar bodies. CRISPR?
I don't remember all those.
Yeah, I have a hard time remembering. I remember De La Chapelle syndrome, and I remember Klinefelter, and there's another one. But basically, so we all know the XX and XY, okay? What ends up happening sometimes is that an extra X will get kind of carried over into the child, and so it'll become inactivated. But it ends up causing issues because, well, it's a recipe. Well, which one is going to get, which one is going to get read? Well, the one that's not inactivated is going to get read. And so it ends up causing these different aberrations. And developmentally, the person will be, like you said, intersex rather than transgender. And so
actually, though, I think that he may have been referring to complete androgen insensitivity syndrome, in which case you're XY, but the male hormones do nothing. And so you will be, to all female.
So what's the case where the extra X gets carried over? Does the female have like 3 X's?
Yeah, that happens.
Well, it's like XXY. Like, isn't it mainly diagnosed prenatally too, as well, or like they have to? Yeah.
There's when you start trying to get and I can't remember. There's two different ways. I think amniocentesis, and there's where's the other one? It has to do something with the fibrous material inside. I can't remember what it's called, but you take a sample from the placenta, and it's dangerous because you're going in there and you're piercing, the membranes and whatnot that secure that whole fucking process, and then you can do karyotyping from there, and you can tell from that karyotype what that zygote is going to be, and you can take the appropriate steps. But I mean, there's really little you can do when someone has the wrong, the wrong sets of chromosomes.
Well, there's also a similarity, like a male recessive gene, color blindness, is tied to the male dominant gene. So I don't know. I'm just thinking kind of out loud, but like the red-green, at least red-green is primarily male color blindness, where it's like, I believe over 90% of that is in a male dominant gene would get carried over, but only if the offspring were male. I don't know. Yeah. It's an equation thing.
Well, the issue is that if it's carried on the X chromosome, well, males only have 1 X. Females don't have that problem because they have 2. You see, you get where that comes. I guess I might have to try to explain this a little bit better.
No, I know. I know. I kind of know what you mean, because the Y chromosome is the males, the females 2 X's, and so
right. So if it's being read for whatever, cones and rods and whatnot on that chromosome, you don't have a second like good copy of that recipe. You only have 1 bad one.
So there isn't a strict relationship between the generations of particular sexed organs and combinations of chromosomes, or did I miss it?
No, there's that. Like if you have someone that has a Klinefelter syndrome or something like that, they're not going to be able to produce kids. Like it's random.
Well, I mean, you do need that Y chromosome to develop as a male. I mean, that's sort of a non-starter.
And I'm not familiar with that syndrome. I haven't looked it up, but is that compatible with having both sex organs? So you're saying that the person suffering from that syndrome wouldn't be able to use their penis?
You're talking about
to-
hermaphrodites.
You could have incomplete
Yeah, I'm sorry.
masculization, which might result in something with that appearance, but none of it would really work.
Okay.
Yeah, the issue with when it comes to a lot of sex organs, they have to be made specifically. They have to, and I can't say perfectly, but
Well, let me put it this way: it's all made out of the same stuff, right? So you can't. If you're gonna have one that's made out of what you were gonna make the other with, so it's like it's a zero-sum game here.
I'm not sure I follow you. I'm sorry.
So, like, things developmentally, they have the same cell lineages, right?
Okay,
So,
yeah, I follow that.
so each element of the genitalia in the female has a corresponding part in the male that develops from the same tissue.
Okay.
So it's a 1-for-1 relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the one, you don't have the other. You can't.
By the one, you mean the sex organ?
Whichever element, right? So that's when they talk about masculinization, right?
Okay.
Because absent the effect of androgen, the male hormones, right, you're going to end up being phenotypically female.
Okay.
So when you have the masculinization happen, that causes things to move towards male genitalia. And if you have full masculinization, you have fully male genitalia.
Okay. And does masculization come in degrees relative to the
Yes.
chromosomes? Okay, gotcha.
Well, relative to the exposure to the appropriate hormones. But
The hormones,
having
okay.
those appropriate hormones at the appropriate levels really does require the appropriate chromosomes, but that's really not the point.
Okay, so it doesn't have anything to do with like aberrations with the chromosomes to produce these hormonal imbalances that would lead to.
It would certainly do that, yeah. I mean, that's one way you can get there.
So what would that look like? Like they would have what, like 2 X's and a Y, or 1 X and 2 Y's or something, or is it like a stronger?
So when I mentioned complete androgen insensitivity syndrome, right? Like that's 1X, 1Y, normal male chromosomes, right? But phenotypically, fully female. Completely female phenotype. You never tell.
Gotcha. So do chromosomes and phenotypes, they don't have a strict relationship? There's like
they have a
variability
direct
there?
relationship.
There's a direct relationship, but it's not a perfect correlation, right? So there are other factors going on here.
So a good example is like my skin tone, my skin right here. So you can probably tell from my avatar that I produce eumelanin versus pheomelanin. Now there's the same gene as say for CRISPR. CRISPR and I both have MCR1, but I have the wild type and he has one of the alleles, which he codes for pheomelanin, I code for eumelanin. Now the environment will change my phenotype. If I go out in the sun, my skin will actually get darker and more of the brown and black pigment will be produced, but that is an environmental response that, so it's not completely genetic. Does that make sense?
And is that on analogy with it being someone being dominantly a woman, but then I guess like, was Jamie Lee Curtis, was she born with a male sex organ? Someone like that.
I don't know who that is, but it's when it comes to genitalia, you really don't have that environmental factor because you have certain traits that are like strictly genetic, like your genes, you're either fucked or you're not. Other traits are not like your skin.
I get that. Okay.
You know, so yeah, genitalia is one of those. Yeah, like he said, it's a zero-sum game when it comes to that.
With all this talk about the genes and whatnot, do you believe you'd be able to change someone's genes as like have you heard of the CRISPR?
Yeah, I think I have heard of CRISPR. Hey, CRISPR, have you heard of CRISPR?
Oh yeah. Is that a screen name?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. Okay, so you've heard of that. So you believe in that?
Do I
There's
believe in
nothing
it?
to believe. There's
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Like, are you following that? Are you a part of that, or what?
I'm gonna love this
Can
conversation.
Can you see my icon?
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's marijuana or what. I can't really tell.
That is CRISPR. That is what
That's-
CRISPR actually looks like.
Yeah. So the
Wow.
the gray is the Cas
It looks
protein.
like some marijuana. I don't smoke it, but it looked like 2 nugs of marijuana. I'm just being honest.
I'm not sure where
Rorschach
you've been
check.
getting yours.
You see what you want to see.
Maybe,
You make that in the CRISPR?
can I just point out beyond? Maybe it wasn't cannabis you were smoking.
Right, you got
Well,
some angel
listen.
dust.
Speaking of cannabis, they actually do use CRISPR stuff to make cannabis seeds and splice them and genetically modify them in a sense, don't they?
It's extremely convenient for a lot of stuff.
Yes.
So actually, thank you, Hannah. That's the other thing I was thinking of, the chronic V-like testing. I couldn't remember the name of it. Thank you.
Honestly, with CRISPR,
What was that in reference to?
The different types of it was amniocentesis and chronic V-like testing to test the fetal DNA.
Oh, cool. Okay.
With CRISPR, with CRISPR, anyone who understands they can change their own DNA. Love it.
No.
Oh wait, never mind.
I mean, so yeah, this is a really common misconception with things. So whenever you're talking about genetic engineering, the problem isn't changing the genetics. The problem is changing the genetics everywhere. Right? So like if you want to just have like a new organism with different genetics, that's not that hard, especially now. It's actually really easy now. But if you're talking about somebody who's already walking around and can go online to buy this stuff, you've got real issues because your delivery mechanism gets really complicated.
Yeah, that's an issue I have. People out here just think it's as easy as like taking a needle and poking something in your body and things change. I know it's not that easy.
I blame Bioshock.
They're getting better.
Yeah.
And they've got. I've seen actually some really promising results for certain treatments, but it's not going to be a one size fits all. It's going to take work. It's going to be application specific, but I mean, certainly it can be done. It's just not. It's not something that you could do by messing about in your kitchen, right? Like this is.
Yeah, fair enough.
This is some serious stuff, and especially when you're talking about using it on humans. I mean, the people who inject themselves with this, like the biohackers, those people are nuts.
Can I just make a request for the people that don't understand what this CRISPR thing is, most notably me? What is this CRISPR thing? I don't know what this. Give a review of what that generally is.
Well, if you can see my icon, my icon there, the gray is the Cas protein, and the colorful stuff is the guide RNA, and the DNA as well. And so basically the idea is you have a guide RNA that has part of it matches to the protein, and part of it matches to some bit of DNA, right?
Okay.
So one bit makes sure that it goes into the protein, and the other bit gets it and the protein to the right part of the DNA, right?
Okay.
And then once it's there, it cleaves the DNA. It cuts it into pieces, and then connects the ends of it again.
Endonuclease.
Right. And then they've made variants of it that can do other stuff, right? So that it can it can't cut DNA anymore, but it can now block transcription factors. Or there's variants that can latch on and enhance transcription factors. And there are
utility in this.
Sorry?
What's the utility in this?
Gene drive.
If you have if you have a protein that's doing something bad, and you have the version that blocks transcription factors, then it'll reduce the amount of that protein that you get, so that it's not doing as much bad stuff. And if you have something that's doing something good, and you have the other version, then you get more of the good effect, right? So, I mean, it's just pretty simple. And then the other you can just use for straight genetic editing.
Is this study of this CRISPR, is it in a BSL-4? Is this where this stuff is being taken place at, or what type of secure level place is this? Is it a 1 or 2 or 3?
If you're doing it with like lentiviral or adenovirus, then you should really be BSL-2. But if you're just using protein and RNA, then I mean, it's really it doesn't really matter, because the thing is the specificity of it is down to the guide RNA, right? And so if you make a guide RNA for something in the mouse genome, it's probably not going to match anything in the human genome anyway. So
Yeah.
Okay. So it's all kind of just experimental stuff at the end of the day.
No, it's not just experimental.
I mean,
like you can
they're
buy
not really
kits.
using it. They don't have technology to actually change a person DNA.
An embryo's DNA, sure, but that's not terribly ethical. A person's DNA, definitely yes, but again, it's something that you've got to be very careful with. I don't think that there are any commercial treatments available at the time, but I know that they're in at least preclinical with several, if not actually into full clinical trials with 1 or 2.
What would those trials possibly be?
Oh, so I think that I saw one that was treatment for what was it? It wasn't HIV. Was it HIV?
Was it some lysogenic virus?
No, I think it was HIV actually. I think they were having pretty good success with it too.
Really?
What do they they think they could cure somebody with that treatment?
I mean, theoretically, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, right? So the way that the CRISPR-Cas system evolved is as an immune system for bacteria to defend bacteria against viral infection. So
just putting it back to work, what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, in a manner of speaking, yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's several things that it could be used for, with at least the possibility of reasonable effectiveness. But it will take a lot of work. It's not, like I said, it's not a simple thing, but it's definitely possible.
So when you're dealing with something like a DNA chain, will you explain, since you sound to be pretty knowledgeable on it, and maybe some other people in here are, but will you explain how complex just the DNA is? Like what they're looking like compared to a math problem?
What?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Like
it's a chemical
of the DNA code, and how long and how compare. Like, can you explain it a little bit?
Are you trying to correlate the length of DNA to how complex an organism is?
It's a chemical. It
no,
works. It works as chemicals work.
No, it's almost like written code for computer, correct? But it's just more elaborate.
No,
I see where he's going.
Not really. I mean, it's chemical, right?
I do where
It
it's
works by
going.
chemistry.
That's funny.
I mean,
no, he's doing the Ronnie thing. No,
I know. I kind of assumed that initially.
Hey, What is your name again? The one with the Toy Story picture?
You just call me Drag.
Drag. I
Why
don't.
did you
Why you call yourself that?
Mine is short for Dragnot. It's an online moniker that I have for anything that I do online. It's actually a portmanteau of dragon and dreadnought.
Okay, I don't know anything about that, but
Well,
Are
drag.
you
no,
the
it's,
person on the left or the right?
huh?
I'm
Am
new
I
to
the-
the community. I'm just asking, are you the
Oh,
person on the right or the left?
I'm the person on the right. I'm
Okay.
Buzz.
On my
Uh,
right.
yeah, my screen is my right, but it's so I made that because I got tired of people taking my names when I go do online games, and
Yeah.
so that's why I use this anytime that I'm online,
Oh, okay. Something unique.
basically.
I'm the
Sylvia,
same.
that's your
Cliff
last
Jumper.
name?
I'm the same with Cliff Jumper. You know, people recognize that name, whereas another person called Dave, probably not.
Oh, so you're Cliff Jumper?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cliff, for sure.
Drag,
So,
why did you present Christopher?
I was
And who are
presenting
you?
because we were looking at the structure of the Cas9.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Cas9 Clifford.
I have some evolution questions that I have that I've been wanting to ask for a while.
Oh, sure.
Trying to understand it.
Yeah.
So this is, I don't know if you've heard of this. This is Richard DeWitt Worldviews.
The name sounds familiar.
And he's mentioning 4 mechanisms. I thought there was only one mechanism for by which evolution occurs.
Oh, yeah. So like predation, whatnot, and sexual selection.
Oh, yeah. That was the next question I was going to ask. So he says natural selection is one. I was going to ask you if sexual selection was distinct from that. But then he mentions genetic drift, gene flow, and then the one I've heard of is genetic mutations. But I'd never heard of genetic drift and gene flow before.
Well, when you're talking about DNA changing, the flow of DNA in reference to the population. Remember when I mentioned that CRISPR and I have the same
the
MC1R?
phenotype thing?
Yes. So just think about this for a second. So it's the same gene in mice for their coat color. One has the wild type, which is MC1R, and then the other has, let's say, allele A. And so allele A codes for the white coat, and the wild type codes for the brown coat. If you have a population of 30, and there's 20 brown coat and 10 white coat, they breed, but let's say there's predation. That's one scenario. They're in an environment that is brown, so the brown ones have a greater chance of survival. So the white ones get picked off. So next generation, we have a total of 40, and there's now just 40 brown coat. So you have all the white ones completely wiped out. What can then happen is that allele can come back through mutation, through just random genetic mutations, and occur. So the next population, third population, will have, let's say, 30 and 10 white ones again. And so a good example of sexual selection, let's say all the females, for some reason, choose the white ones. Well, guess what? Next population, you have a total of 40. Half will be, white, half. You get it?
Yeah. So what you just described was drift, right? But
Yeah.
I guess it has to do with migration too.
It has a lot to do with migrations, because there's now that's kind of getting into different, a little different area, but it has a lot to do with everything in their environment. So when you have that particular gene drifting, changing in frequency, that's kind of what they mean by the drift that's happening. And you can actually calculate, just based on looking at them, honestly, based on which ones are displaying that particular phenotype. And then there's all types of calculations that you can do to determine the frequency at which they're drifting.
Now, do phenotypes have to do with the macro evolution stuff, or just micro?
Well, that's more so dealing with I'm trying to split this up so that it's easy to understand. So when you talk about more macro evolution, that's more so making inferences of what's connected for extant versus extinct species.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, it's there's a little bit more into that, because it's a lot easier to show how living organisms are transmitting their genetics for each successive generation.
And phenotypes don't happen in a vacuum, though, right? It would always something else would be going on with it.
The phenotypes that you will see in any given population are due to several factors. Predation is one of them, random mutations another, and the environment. The environment does play a role in it, but it depends on what those traits are. There are some traits for a coat color that are extremely dependent on the environment, and others that are not. So it really depends on what organism you're looking at and what traits you're looking at.
Those are some good questions.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand it. And I was reading Dawkins too. He mentions that is there is random like a specific nomenclature? Because I think I was reading from him that it's not random in a sense. It's not due to chance at all, or is chance and random different concepts? Probably.
It depends on the context. Now, a lot of times when people talk about random, that means that we just can't predict it. Like I can't tell you exactly how, like of this progeny, how many will display such and such trait. Now, I can make an estimated, guess, but I don't know how these alleles are going to sort. I don't know which of their gametes are going to be produced. I have no idea. Like there's no way we have that type of technology. So when random is spoken about, it's due to different mutation events happening once those gametes to those two organisms, the male and the female, fuse together.
And if you knew everything though, like if you knew everything and you weren't limited by, what you could know, could you see into the process and actually see its non-randomness?
Well, I mean, it's not a perfectly even distribution, right? So I mean, it's not random in the sense that like a fair coin is going to be random when you flip it, right? It has there are various types of bias in the system, but I mean
that's what I remember. Yeah.
If your question though is, could we, if we had perfect, if we could see it in extreme levels of detail, could we perfectly predict what would happen? I mean, I suppose that's true, but I mean, that would just, the number of things involved would make that more or less impossible.
Just like the nature, like let's say in principle, we could never know, but could we say like in itself, the process in itself is such that we wouldn't ascribe the property of randomness if we just separate it from predictability or something, maybe?
Well, I mean, you could say that it's a deterministic system.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. But but yeah, it's certainly not. It's not readily predictable. No.
Because if there was a certain pattern, we would be able to discern it fairly easily. I mean,
there are certain patterns, right? So like you say that, like sex distribution is approximately 50-50, right? You can see that pattern, but you can't predict which sperm hits the egg.
So, even though the process is determined, we're just kind of cut off epistemically from it.
It's determined by the incredible amount of minutia of the specific physics and chemistry that's involved there, right?
Right.
But like you say that if you have a drop of water rolling down a mountain, the process by which it gets to the sea is deterministic, but
correct.
Predict exactly where it will be halfway through the trip, where in that current. Never do that.
And then there's probably ethical constraints on actually testing whether or not you could predict it by isolating populations of animals and performing experiments and stuff. So I guess we'll never know.
Well, no, there's definitely experiments done on animals to.
Oh yeah, that's true.
There's definitely that, but humans, that's where the ethical issue comes in, and that's where
sure, yeah.
One of my professors and I had a lengthy discussion about using CRISPR technology on like human blastocysts, for instance.
What is that?
During your developmental stages, you form into a cell called a blastocyst. It's just, okay. I mean, it's before you become a fetus, basically.
Okay. And there's like ethical conversation going on about whether or not to do that.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's actually illegal to actually do that. Up until a certain point, you can't. Now it is, and I didn't know this up until recently. You can actually edit the genome of a blastocyst, and I believe it's up to 6 weeks, and then after 6 weeks, you have to terminate it. I think that's the current rule.
Is that just in America?
No, that's in certain other countries, but as we know that there are other choice countries that don't have those type of constraints.
Oh, maybe they'll make a breakthrough, and then we'll chide them.
Possibly. I mean, it's inevitable at this point. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
See,
That sounds like
where
a
I
Black
think you're
Mirror
wrong.
episode.
That's where I think you're wrong. It's inevitable. It's not inevitable because it's all theory. Everything that really everyone's been talking about, just with not to disrespect, has all been theory.
Well, we've actually edited
I thought theory was a
blastocysts.
good one, though. That's a good thing.
I mean, we actually have that. We've done it. It's the fact that we can't carry it to term.
Are you saying that it's a theory that like the CRISPR system works?
Well, no, not all theory. In a sense of they know what they're doing with it. That's theory.
Yeah, no, they know what they're doing with it.
No, they don't.
Yeah, I thought theories were just so well confirmed that a hypothesis would graduate to the status of a theory, and that's like the highest thing that a scientific hypothesis can have.
He's using it in the colloquial sense.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
But no, I mean,
I'm using it in a sense of they cannot just go around and change DNA to exactly what they want. Sure, they can mess it up and it'll distort it and think. I'm sure they can, and sure they might be able to do something and change this way. I'm sure it will, but they cannot perfect and create as a God would create.
Are you talking about? Go ahead, Chris.
The DNA that is there naturally is a big old jumbled mess. So not going to do any worse.
Our genomes actually have what's called like gene deserts, where there's just nothing. Like it's just random sequences repeated over and over and over again. Like there's nothing that comes out. Well, there's I think microRNAs. I want to say it's some microRNA. Besides the sparse microRNA, there's really nothing there. It's tandem repeats. So I mean, we could honestly do a lot better without them.
Could you tell me about restriction enzymes?
Sure.
Is that the latest breakthrough with DNA?
No, that's really old.
Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Think of them like scissors.
Okay.
Think of them like scissors that only work on very, very specific types of paper.
Oh, okay.
I think the latest break. I actually did a stream a while ago with RSC. Apparently, they found a new form of DNA called I motifs. Obviously, they need to do more. They need to do more experiments, but the experiments have been promising.
Oh yeah, thank you for that. By the way, because we went over DNA motifs like a day after you showed me that article, so I sent it to my instructor.
Oh, nice.
He was actually curious. He didn't know that came up.
Yep. Well, I figured I found that on Live Science. It was an interesting article. RC got me the paper. I read like 4 pages, and yeah. Hang on.
But there's I think Sam in the chat says they've created an entire viral genome. Yeah, they synthesized an entire viral genome. So yeah, we have actually created. Yeah. I mean, we know how to.
Wait a second. You're claiming they created entire what?
A virus genome.
Okay. Out of what?
DNA? Or I actually it may be is it DNA or is it RNA?
DNA.
Okay.
So they haven't created.
What?
Because they had to use something for it to create.
What?
Because something didn't come from nothing.
You can actually like custom make DNA one nucleotide at a time.
When you say something from nothing, what do you mean by that, Beyond?
Everything here didn't come from nothing.
What is nothing?
Well, essentially evolution and Big Bang.
See,
if you go back on it, it has to come from nothing, assuming that you hold that position.
But what is nothing?
yeah, because this is one of those big questions.
Nothing is exactly what I meant. Nothing. Zero.
Okay, look. Imagine I've got a glass and it's empty. What's in it?
Okay.
What's in it? Is that nothing?
Well, in this world, it's not nothing because there's air and other things, particles, dust, I'm sure.
Yeah. We've got oxygen, nitrogen, gravity,
Yeah.
volume. Okay. So this is a nothing with substance. We have no evidence that a philosophical nothing of any substance whatsoever has existed, can exist. You know, it's a philosophical argument that doesn't have any evidence to demonstrate it.
No, everything that you have all explained and it talked about pretty much explains God exists.
Well,
Prove that
You have all brought it into fruition.
Can you demonstrate that it's possible for there to be nothing? For there to be an actual nothing, for that to actually exist? How could nothing exist?
Exactly, it can't.
Well, then,
so how did you not exist?
Then you have no argument. You've just said that you have no argument in what you've just said.
No, right. You have no argument. Anyone that believes in evolution or Big Bang has no argument. They have no foundation.
I'm sorry. Hold on a second. If it's philosophically impossible to have nothing, then it doesn't make any sense to ask how something could come from nothing, because you could have never had nothing in the first place.
Including your God.
So that means
must have come from nothing.
So that means that the basic assumption then is that you have the least amount that it is philosophically possible to have, which is not nothing, right? Yeah. But that still leaves you with quantum foam. And at that point, we do have the mathematics to explain how we could get everything else from the actual kind of nothing we know could exist.
You wouldn't have those mathematics if it wasn't for a man telling you had mathematics.
No, I mean demonstrate that.
That's not true at all. I mean, let's just say that the universe exists and no human beings exist, and you've got 2 moons around the planet. How many moons are around the planet? You know, whether we exist
or not, there's 2 moons.
There'll be two moons around that planet.
That's a theory.
No, it's a reality.
No,
if humans didn't exist,
no, it's not a reality. It's a theory.
Hang on a minute, please. If humans didn't exist, the mathematics to describe how many moons are there would still exist. You know, mathematics is just a tool that we use to describe something. It's not a thing in itself.
Well, according to your evolution, there might appear another moon. Now you got 3.
What in evolution would imply that?
Well, Big Bang theory, it's always expanding.
But how does cosmic expansion mean that another moon is going to form?
Why wouldn't it? Evolution, everything's getting better and greater.
That's okay. Those are not related to each other. Well,
evolution pretty much points to we came from monkeys to this. Is that what type of evolution you're talking about?
Biological evolution, yes.
You're talking about.
So why aren't monkeys still evolving then?
They are still evolving.
Yeah.
No, there ain't. I haven't seen a monkey with a half a human face.
That's not how evolution works.
Then how does it work? Give me some understanding, because
populations diverge.
You don't give me the words of wisdom. Give me proof.
That populations diverge? You want to see pictures of diverged populations?
No, I want to see pictures of the evolution in motion. Not cartoon drawings.
Okay, so
and
you
not
have
a piece of bone.
Do you have a family photo? of you with your parents.
Well, that's different. I'm a human as a baby to an adult, and I die.
Yeah.
And when I die, I realize I was right by Jesus Christ. But anyways,
good luck with that. But no, if you have
I don't need luck. When I got God on your side, I'm trying to tell you.
Hold on. If you have a picture with you and your parents, you've got your parents, and your parents are very slightly different than you. Okay, and if you have kids and you get a picture with all three generations in there, right? Then you'll have three people who are all slightly different from one another. Okay,
but we all look like the human race.
Yes.
Yeah, we may have different freckles or teeth or hair.
Here's the important bit, right? Humans and chimpanzees have a common ancestor. That common ancestor was an ape. Humans are apes. Chimpanzees are apes. Humans and chimpanzees are all still apes. What?
Because I've seen a lot of pictures in school books and colleges and these type of theories, but there's no proof.
What would constitute proof to you?
Are you saying
ape turning into a human?
Apes
because
are
evolution is debunked right there. Because there's still apes here.
Dude, you need to stop talking over everyone and let people explain. If you ask for something and we're not able to answer, doesn't that defeat the purpose of a conversation? You could just talk to a wall.
Well, no, I was speaking at the time, and then someone talked. I couldn't hear him.
No. He was actually in the middle of his sentence when you interrupted him.
Humans.
Well, maybe it's a phone lag. I don't know.
That's possible. Humans are apes.
Humans are apes?
Yes.
Can
That's what you say?
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute, Beyond. Could someone who is much better than biology than me explain the descriptive of an ape? What is an ape?
A crazy man.
No, I'm talking to one of the people.
Okay, name for me. Can you name a characteristic of an ape?
No, I'm asking one of the biology people.
Well, no,
here.
but I'm curious. I want him to give me a description of an ape that doesn't describe a human.
A description of an ape that doesn't describe a human?
Yes.
Well, just look at it.
Just look at it. That's not a description.
That's not an answer.
You just have to look at it. I mean, you could tell. Common sense will let you know.
Give me a description of a. This should be easy for you. Give me a description of a cat that isn't a description of a human. This should be real easy. I'm sure you can do it.
Tail.
Because humans aren't cats, so it should be really easy for you to give a description of a cat that does not describe a human.
It's really a straw man argument, and it's really a theory you're poking at.
Can you do it? Can you not do it?
Can I not? Well, look at a monkey or look at an ape. First of all, you know how many different monkeys there are and apes there are.
Do the easy one first.
No, you asked me the question, how many different apes there are?
There's I think several dozen species of apes extant.
So now it shows me your intelligence level is not very high on what you're talking about.
There's 5 species of great ape, I think.
You Googling it? Because you better Google it a little quicker.
No, I'm doing this off memory because I don't have the page open.
It's on theory what you're talking.
Right. So can you give me a description of a cat that's not a description of a human or not? Because if you can't, that's kind of embarrassing.
Well, I'm just holding the fifth.
You're just holding what?
Pleading the fifth. On all the questions because they're all irrelevant.
No, this is perfectly relevant because I'm trying
to
do this.
How is reserving the right against self-incrimination have anything to do with answering a simple question?
Well, I mean, unless he's saying that if he answers the question, he'll show that he's full of shit. But
no, because I only want to speak on intelligent talk, and for me to answer how a cat is different than a human, it should be clearly quite simple.
It is quite simple. But the thing is, if you can...
I mean, a 2-year-old can tell you things like this.
Do that for a cat, but you can't do it for an ape. That means humans
a
are
2-year-old
apes.
can tell you about an ape.
Yeah.
They
would actually give me a description of apes, though. And I can point out that
let me
humans
tell you
are
this.
like that, too.
Okay, an ape can beat any man. So then we devolved. So now you actually contradicted yourself.
What?
A gorilla is technically an ape, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
a gorilla is a species of ape.
So a gorilla can whoop any man. Is stronger than any man.
Okay.
So we
Can a
devolved in
bonobo
a sense.
beat any human?
What?
I think what CRISPR's trying to get at is like a human
How about
is to an ape,
devolved
like
because
a
we're
cat
weak
is
men
to.
compared to gorillas.
Can a gibbon beat any human? Gibbon is a kind of ape.
Listen, exactly. You gotta pull up right out this. You gotta just pull from other things. A gorilla.
No, I'm not pulling from
a
other.
real life gorilla.
They're all apes. He's
But
mentioned
humans aren't gorillas. I didn't say humans are gorillas. I said humans are apes. There are
Well,
many
a
species
gorilla
of ape.
is an ape.
But you asked about apes. He's
Yes.
Do you know how subsets work? If I say the number 2
See, now
is
you
an
guys
even
are on a
number,
frantic
it
skizzy.
doesn't mean that I'm describing every single even number.
Okay, beyond.
I dismantled your whole.
No, you
your
didn't.
No, you
You're just
didn't.
so poorly
You
informed.
might
that
as well block
Look,
me
let me
now
ask you
because it
this.
sounds
Let me
like
ask you
y'all
this.
are angry.
Here, this is really simple. Really simple. Are Italians European? Yes or
Yes.
no? Okay. Are the French European?
Yes.
Are the French Italian?
Yes.
What?
I don't think you were listening properly there.
As somebody with a
Parts are
South
Italian,
French
the Italian or French. Yes.
No.
You weren't listening to me when I answered. Yes, they are.
How are the French Italian? I don't get that.
That's my theory, right?
Oh, I see what
Since
you're
we're
saying.
being a
You're
theory
an
tonight,
idiot.
we're all in one in Christ. So technically, there is no race. There
That's
is no nationality. None of that.
Can you just answer the question though? Like
To me,
instead of-
no,
instead of
I'm
dodging
literally
off to
answering
something
that.
else.
Come on,
And me,
you're playing word
there
games.
is no race.
He's not
There
even
is
playing
no
word
color
games.
line.
He's just
There's no
stupid.
nationality in me.
He's making an analogy though, man.
Okay, let me give you a different one. Is the number 1
Plus,
less
with
than the
CRISPR,
number
I could
10?
change my race
Is the
any
number
day.
1? Let's do this. Is the number 1 less than the number 10?
So one day I might be Italian, the next day
Is
I'll
the
be
number-
French because of CRISPR.
Is the number 1 less than the number 10?
Yes.
I mean,
Beyond?
with mathematics, yes.
Is the number 2 less than the number 10?
Yes.
With the mathematical system, yes.
Is the number 1 the number 2?
No. No.
Beyond? Is the number 1 the number
I
2?
plead the fifth just for some entertainment.
Okay, so you understand that the number 1 is not the number 2. Yeah. Okay,
I'll have
great.
I've
to-
watched Dr. Seuss before.
So you
Thing
understand.
one is different than thing two.
Okay, so you understand that both 1 and 2 are in the set of numbers less than 10.
Yes.
And yet, they're not the same as one another, even though they're in the same set.
All numbers are one in Christ, though.
Right? Yeah.
But isn't the magic number
You
3
with
for the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost?
Uh-oh.
You
The
followed me
Trinity.
on that, right?
Oh, no.
I mean,
Holy
1 is 3 and
Trinity.
3 is 1. So, suck it, math.
Three and one.
So you understand
So
sets
now
now.
you see where numbers don't really matter because 3 are 1.
I
you're
think this guy
intelligent.
is just
Now you brought
he's just trolling.
intelligence into this conversation. Thank you.
Well, I mean, it's also possible he's a massive idiot.
I mean, at what? I mean, we're talking about a distinction without a difference, right?
Is that
No,
righteous
there's a very
intelligence
important
or what?
difference. What?
Nothing. I was just messing around.
Okay, so are you actually still confused about how it is that humans are apes?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay,
Because
so humans are apes.
well, listen,
Humans
I
are
wanna
apes
have
in the same way that
gorilla
the number
strength
1 is
where I
less
could
than the
just
number
jump
10.
in from one tree to
Dude,
the
can
next.
you shut up while he's in the middle of an explanation, please?
I
So-
couldn't hear him.
Humans are. I know you.
Yeah,
can
because you
hear me,
didn't
but
shut
we're
your
talking.
mouth.
Humans are apes. Humans are
Mouth
apes.
closed, ears open.
Humans
Sorry,
are apes.
Who was that talking?
That was me. Humans are
No,
apes.
the other guy.
Well,
Tell me something else.
gorillas.
Well, the thing is that it's kind of getting annoying because we're trying to have an honest conversation here, and you're being a little obstructive, and I don't want to be mean, but it's kind of getting a bit tiresome now.
Are you a judge?
Well, it's my hangout, so I suppose yes.
So you're the cliff jumper?
I am, yes.
Are you gonna jump?
It's a metaphor. He actually pushes other people.
Oh. Well,
You
go
have the
ahead.
ability to kick people, boot people.
Feeling froggy, jump.
You are confusing me as hell. You know that. I can't.
I'm probably not your average Christian you might come across, that's for sure.
Maybe he's a brilliant satirist.
People similar. So.
I would not make that point as a bragging point in this
No,
conversation.
it is no bragging point, that's for sure.
I agree.
It is no bragging point.
That's your theory.
It is. All theory.
Can I ask a question? Have you been drinking while we've been chatting?
I haven't drank alcohol in over 3.5 years.
Okay.
No. There's no slurring. You listened to the Shanny stream last night. You should know what drinking sounds like.
I'll admit, I've been steady sucking liquor the whole time.
I mean, that's personal preference. I mean, more power to you if that's what you like to do, I guess.
Well, I missed the first part of the conversation, I guess, because I walked out and then I came back. Then we're talking about numbers and apes. So, do you have an issue accepting that humans are apes? Because it don't really bother me in the least bit. Because the thing of it is, regardless of whether you classify yourself as a rocket, a trained caboose, or an ape or a human, you're still a finite ape, human, or train or caboose. And the end result is you're going to die. So this is all semantical, is it not? Does it matter that you're an ape and a human?
I don't get that point.
The difference between an ape and a human is we have a conscious choice to where we're going to go. The ape can act like an ape.
Now you're assigning. Now it's basically sounding like this worldview is the only worldview that people should have or adhere to, because we could choose where we're going to go. This assumes that the afterlife is indeed a real place, which, unfortunately for you and me both, nobody can say with any certainty beyond a shadow of a doubt that this exists. Nobody knows what happens after you die because, well, nobody's come back. Don't give a shit what your Bible says. Nobody's come back.
No, that's Jesus has come back, but as far as man, no. All the hell in heaven stories and testimonies people tell, I think are completely false.
Was Jesus a man?
Jesus was the son of God.
But was he a man?
He came in human form.
He came in human form. So while Jesus walked the earth, he was a human. Yes or no?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So we know by natural observation over these last couple of thousand years that we've been able to observe this shit. And the records that we've been able to keep over the last couple of 100 years, and going back 1,000 years if you'd like, we have no actual occurrences of somebody dying, being dead for, say, 3 days, coming back to life, and walking around. We know that this don't happen simply because that's what the laws of nature dictate to us, because we've observed this. So if Jesus was a human, it follows that when he died on the cross, if he was actually a real person, he didn't come back because he was a human, regardless of whether or not his dad might have been a ghost that raped some little poor Jewish girl over in some village.
That's not true. Ever. Show me that in scripture. That's not true.
What?
You stand corrected on it. I won't let you say that. But
what, God didn't rape Mary?
Listen, no.
Okay.
When did he rape her?
When the Bible says that the Holy Ghost came upon Mary and she was with child, there was at no spot in the scripture whatsoever that the verses specifically say Mary said, "Yes, God, knock me up." Now, afterwards, when Mary said, "I am most blessed of women," that wasn't permission. It was after the fact. It was just consignment to her fate, because technically Joseph could have killed her ass. It was legal because she got knocked up, regardless if it was by the Holy Ghost or not. Now, since Jesus was born through the line of Mary, we have a problem. He wasn't from the line of David, but he was still born of human means. Whether the sperm was holy or the egg was dirty doesn't really matter. So Jesus didn't die and come back to life. So where's the problem with being an ape?
Want to talk about, listen, people want to talk about numbers. Look at the year we're in.
If you want to say that the calendar is proof for God or Jesus, I'm sorry. That's fucking absurd.
Yeah, I will explain.
Well, no, you were looking for a sign, so I thought I'd give you one.
Can I tell you something? The year had an extra 700 on it prior to about 1500 something.
Well, no. The thing is, in 46 BC, that's when the Julian calendar starts.
But they kept the same number. They kept the same numbering system, though.
Yeah. Well, hang on. But what happened was in the 1500s, I think it was 14 something actually. That was when the Gregorian calendar came in, and all it was, they just got the definition closer. So effectively, it's got more decimal points dot zeros behind the decimal point. So they got it much closer to the cycle of the moon around the sun. But either way, the Julian calendar came 46 BC. Now, even if you go by what the Bible suggests, he died about 30 BC. So the Julian calendar, which the Gregorian calendar we use today is based on, was enhanced on, is based upon something that's before Jesus was even born, by a decade, roughly.
I agree. Well, the point I wanted to make with this whole Jesus, human, ape, natural choice issue, to tie it back to what you initially said about we have a choice to where we go. You could argue effectively, because of the case of Pharaoh in the Old Testament, we don't have a choice because God takes choice from us at his whim. If God indeed, this assumes God's real, and I understand that.
No,
but
actually, it's worse than that.
Choice. We don't have a choice.
It's any universe with a omnipotent God is necessarily devoid of free will.
Of course, I know this, the illusion of free will, because we're finite beings, but the infinite knows that I'm going to eat Cheerios in 22 years. Therefore, I have no choice but to eat Cheerios.
Not just knows, decided that you would.
Yeah,
intentionally caused you to.
Yes, does that follow? Yeah, that follows from the he made everything. Everything's basically God's fault, to include Satan.
Well, funnily enough,
I don't follow that though.
That's one of my arguments, that if you read Genesis, God set Adam and Eve up for fail.
Why is that? I don't follow that.
Oh, okay. I'll go through the list. So he put the tree of knowledge in the garden. He created fruit that must not be eaten. He created and allowed the serpent in the garden. He allowed the serpent to speak. And if the serpent represents Satan, he created Satan and allowed Satan to tempt Adam.
You're adding too much, Cliff.
Eve as well. Okay.
It's much simpler. He created Adam in such a way that Adam would fail.
Well, yeah, but he gave. Well, this is the thing. He gave Adam free will, knowing in advance what choice he would make. So before God even said, "Let there be light," he already knew, if he's omniscient, what Adam and Eve would do with the, with all the set things that he placed in the garden to tempt them, what with the free will he knew they would choose in the. He knew in advance.
They could not make a choice.
So this is the old fatalism debate then? Because I think this has been pretty handled by philosophers of religion. I don't even know anybody who goes with that anymore.
It's necessarily true that if God created everything with intent,
yeah,
right, including the situation. He created Adam, right? He created the situation Adam was in.
Yep.
He created the soul, if that matters, that Adam had, right?
Yep.
He created every single minute detail with intent, with the intent that it happened, everything happened in a certain way.
Of course.
Okay. Now, what element of the decision-making process that went on in Adam's head could you possibly say was not directly caused intentionally by God?
Yeah.
The truth value of the counterfactuals of creaturely freedom prior to the divine decree. That's what Molinus would say. God wouldn't determine that. He would determine their instantiation in a particular world, but he doesn't determine their truth value.
That's a nonsense, though.
Okay, that's fine. I disagree, but we can have an argument about it.
Necessarily true, right? So every element of the decision-making factor of the decision-making process is intentionally created by God.
Created, yep.
Right?
I agree. Yep.
Determined as well.
And it all runs
that
through
part. I don't understand. I don't see how it's determined just because it's created.
Okay. The thing is, well, it's actually worse than that. So, if choices are not made following a deterministic process, there can be no free will.
Okay.
So, for there to be free will, choices must be deterministic.
Yeah, I think they're self-deterministic.
What's determining them? The choice is determining itself?
The soul generates a choice on the basis of a final cause.
Okay, great. The soul is doing it, right? Who created the soul?
God did.
Did he do it with intent?
Yes.
Did he do it with foreknowledge?
Yes, with his middle knowledge. I would distinguish middle knowledge from foreknowledge.
Would you like to define what that means?
Middle knowledge is knowledge of what a creature would do under any set of circumstances, and foreknowledge is God's free knowledge, which is knowledge of what a creature do after he already creates a world.
Okay, so would you be suggesting that God is not omniscient by that definition?
Oh yeah, he's omniscient.
He knows.
So there's three logical moments in his omniscience, according to Molinism: natural, middle, and free.
I get that.
Yeah,
he
gotcha.
knows what would happen in every possible world, but he also knows which possible world is going to happen.
Correct. Yep.
So that means he knows what will happen in the world that will actually happen.
That's okay, as long as he doesn't determine the truth value of the counterfactuals of creaturely freedom. All God does is instantiate those and makes them true of a particular world.
So when you break it down, you're saying man has the illusion of free will regardless of what God knows or not.
I don't affirm it's an illusion, though. I don't think it's an illusion.
Well, how's it not an illusion? God knows you're going to eat Cheerios in 20 years. Can you not eat Cheerios in 20 years? Yes or no?
Yes. Yeah,
no.
It's possible that you... Sure.
How? God knows what you're going to choose ahead of time. He knows this.
It depends on what you mean by possible. So if there's a possible world where you don't eat Cheerios, then it's possible that you don't eat Cheerios. It's easy as that.
But that world doesn't exist. If God is,
that's okay. That's why it's possible and not actual. Yeah, that's good. That's exactly
who decided that one wouldn't be the one that exists.
God did.
Right.
So, and this is what Molinists say. They say that middle knowledge is necessary to God, but the contents of his middle knowledge is contingent because it's up to us.
But it's not up to us because we're doing it because that's what we were made to do.
Well, he instantiates the counterfactuals and makes them exist.
He decided. He did it with intent.
Correct, but he doesn't decide their truth value. He decides their instantiation.
There's no truth value.
But the thing is,
it's a done deal.
When he creates their instantiation, he knows what the truth value will be.
It's already got a truth value. That's why it's called middle knowledge. It's prior to the decree. So it's true even if he decided not to create any world at all. That's what middle knowledge is.
It's only true for the given world that he puts them in.
Correct. Yep.
Right, and he chooses to put them in that one instead of another one.
Correct.
Right, and so it is by that choice to put them into the one he puts them in that directly causes the specific chain of events that results in a given action instead of some other action.
It's not sufficient to overturn soft libertarianism because it's compatible with weak actualization.
Let me
He
put this.
weakly actualizes the choices, but strongly actualizes the world in which the choices are made.
Let me put this in a slightly different way.
Go for it. Yeah, no problem.
People would say that it's not a violation of a person's free will for God to give them a special revelation.
Okay.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. So you're fine with that. Okay.
Yeah.
So if God gives a particular person a special revelation, they will accept it and be saved.
Can I qualify that?
Go ahead.
He would know the circumstances under which they would accept it.
Whatever.
That's a key point. It's a counterfactual of creaturely freedom.
Well, right, but the thing is that he gives them the. You can have somebody who could get the special revelation and not accept it.
Correct. That is correct.
And you can have somebody who gets the special revelation and does accept it.
Exactly. Yep.
And you can have somebody who would accept the special revelation if they got it but never does.
Oh, say that last one again. I didn't follow.
You can have a person who, if they were to receive a special revelation, would accept it, but they never get the special revelation.
Oh, correct. Yeah, that is a possible state of affairs. Yep.
Right. So, looking only at the last two people, the person who gets the special revelation and accepts it, and the person who would accept it if they got it but doesn't get it. Right? Okay, so God makes the choice to give one the revelation and not the other.
Okay.
So one.
Well, I'd fill in a little bit of blanks here. There's some modal logical space left out that I'd like to put in there.
No, I know there is, but so the point that I'm making is that you've got this series of actions that's being done by God that is ending in a result, right?
Correct. That is correct.
That if he had acted in a different way, would have a different result.
Correct.
And he knows that in advance.
Correct. And he actually, well, advance is a weird word. That's a temporal word. So in middle knowledge,
what I mean in the context, right?
Okay, got you. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So it's weird to me to say that it's the fault of the guy who doesn't get the revelation that he doesn't get the revelation when he had no choice in the matter.
In the way you've described the circumstances, yeah, God would be culpable. Correct.
Right. Okay. So now extend that to everything, right? To every single aspect of every single person's life. Right? Because everything in a person's life.
Can I ask a clarification question?
Sure.
I'm expanding the way you've constructed these circumstances, because I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree that it's not good. That's not what the Molinists would affirm.
So
the way you've set up the circumstances.
So in other words, what I'm saying is that in the same way that God makes the specific choice to give the revelation to the one person and not the other, and because he's given the revelation to the one person and not the other, the one person accepts it and the other person doesn't. It can be said that God makes the specific choice to put the one person in a situation where he does something bad, where he could have put that person in a situation where he does something good.
Yeah,
or
the
just
relevant
doesn't do
distinction
something
weak
bad.
versus strong actualization.
Yeah,
all of that's compatible with that. Yep.
But it's also irrelevant because if what actually matters is who is ultimately responsible for a given action, right?
Oh, can I make a quick point?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
God would be the ultimately responsible for the existence of the action. The creature would be ultimately responsible for the truth about what they would do with regard to the action.
But but it's only true that they would do it because that's the thing that's the hand they were dealt.
Oh, but I get that point. That's the hand that they were dealt, but because the creatures determine the truth value of the counterfactuals, they determine the deck, I would say.
But no, they don't, though, because everything about the creature was made intentionally by God. So this is what I'm saying.
I can't follow it all the way because I can't get past that distinction between instantiating a true counterfactual and determining the truth of a counterfactual. I can't get past that. Until I do, I'm kind of stuck on the creature can still fulfill all the individually necessary and jointly sufficient conditions for soft libertarianism and still have it be such that They determine the truth of the counterfactual, and God instantiates that counterfactual to be true of a particular world. And so all the conditions are met for soft libertarianism, but God still has exhaustive, meticulous providence. That's the elegance of the theory. That's why I'm attracted to it. So as long as I'm stuck on that distinction there. And it could be wrong. It could be wrong. I see it as a really elegant theory, but
I mean, you're basically saying, to me, what it sounds like you're saying is that it's not a violation of free will because God could have made things in such a way that they did something else, but he decided to make it in the way that they did the thing they did. So they really have free will, even though they couldn't have done other than they did in reality.
Yeah. Have you heard the distinction between freedom of the will and freedom of action with Timothy O'Connor? Have you read a lot of philosophy at all?
The expression that I like is a person is free to do as he wills, but he's not free to will as he wills.
Oh, right. That's Schopenhauer. Yeah, I agree with that as well, if I was a compatibilist. But because I'm a soft libertarian, he's got this distinction between freedom of action and freedom of the will. What I would say is the freedom of action is limited because God didn't consult me when he chose to instantiate the existence of particular counterfactuals about a particular world. But that's compatible with me still determining the truth value of whatever counterfactuals he did choose to sovereignly instantiate about a world. So I don't see the clash there. Or that's the way Molina unpacks it in the Concordia. But
I mean, just honestly, to me, it's really, it sounds like a non-starter, right?
That's fine. I'm convinced of it, but yeah, it's an interesting conversation. But
yeah, I mean, it's like you're setting up this thing that it's just at best irrelevant.
Okay. Which part is irrelevant?
Well, I mean, so you're admitting that like every single deciding factor is made intentionally by God.
The instantiation of it. Like I said, the contents of his mental knowledge is contingent. It's not up to God with the contents of his mental knowledge at all.
That's the bit that I'm saying is irrelevant.
Which then becomes a problem because God can't be omniscient.
Right, like the thing that you just said.
I don't follow that part.
That I'm saying is irrelevant.
But that's the part I think is really relevant because if it's not up to God what the contents of his mental knowledge is, that's what salvages our soft libertarianism. Because we determine the truth
content of his mental knowledge is literally every possible thing that could ever possibly be.
Oh, can I make a distinction there? I think you mean that's his natural knowledge. His natural knowledge is knowledge of every possibility, what we could do in any set of circumstances. The middle knowledge kind of winnows that down a little bit, and it's like a subset of the possible worlds, of the entire set of possible worlds, and says it's what we would as opposed to could do in any set of circumstances.
I had this odd conversation once, and hopefully you'll understand the relevance about it was about the mathematics involved in building a bridge, right?
Okay.
And so the question was, right, like how can you say that like you can only build a bridge in certain ways, right? If it ends in the middle of the river, it doesn't work.
Correct.
Right? So there's only certain solutions to this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yep. Now you have solutions that won't work. Correct. And you have solutions that will work, and then you have the thing that somebody actually comes up with.
Correct. Yep.
Is that similar?
Oh, as far as the bridge actually going across and having structural integrity and things like that, the relevant similarity between that and like the Molinist model, I would say, is this idea of optimal balance. Have you heard of that? I'll unpack it if you haven't. Optimal balance is the motive that God would have to actually instantiate a particular world, and the optimal balance is he organizes the causal interconnectivity of all the different counterfactuals in such a way so as to maximize salvation. And that's the that's the motive. And so the maximization of salvation would be like the successful bridge, I guess you could say.
Well, right. But more to the point, you could have bridges that work but aren't an optimal design.
Correct. Yep.
Right. So
and on analogy with that, I would say a world in which there's universal salvation and let's say 4 people in it would be like that.
Right. Yeah. But so my point is just that it's like natural knowledge is like the designs of bridges that work, and designs of bridges that don't work, and everything else.
Every possibility, yeah.
Right.
It's modally
And middle
Catholic.
knowledge is the designs of bridges that work, or at least come reasonably close to working, right? Nothing that's just completely wrong.
Could I say it like this, maybe? Maybe this will
ahead.
help. Maybe an analogy between middle knowledge and the bridges would be those bridges which are consistent with the laws of nature that are true about our universe, or something like that. Because there might be other laws of nature in other possible worlds that wouldn't apply to this one. Maybe something like
sure. Okay, so the point is, the reason that this had come up is that the topic was, in what sense do these things actually exist, right? Do the solutions that work exist prior to the architect sitting down to come up with
question. I say no.
And
now, there's differences here. I say no. I'm anti-realist about abstract objects.
It's funny. I would also say no.
I'm a complete anti-realist when it comes to abstract objects.
Because of course, the mathematics, you could say, the natural phenomenon that determine the mathematics exists, right? And then that in turn determines what bridges would work.
Exactly.
Right.
The natural phenomena would be the concrete objects.
And then people can sit down and they can come up with solutions using this mathematics and come up with these solutions. So anyway, getting back to why this is relevant is that it's weird to say that that God's not the deciding factor when he's doing all of the bits that decide it.
Well, I'd say yes and no. Like, he is the deciding factor in the sense that he weakly actualizes the world, but it's still compatible with our strongly actualizing our choices and thereby being compatible with soft libertarianism.
Yeah,
that's how I get out of it. But
I guess I should just point out that to me, the only thing that could possibly matter in terms of free will is whether or not there is a it's basically, where does the direct and intentional causal chain end?
Oh, it ends in the agent, I would say. Now, the explanatory chain would go back further, but the causal chain would end in the agent.
Except that I would say that God caused the agent to be the way that the agent is.
It depends on what you mean. Yeah, exactly. That's a good distinction.
So
the causal chain could have its terminus in two different kinds of points, though, I would say.
Right.
So, like, as far as the chain's existence, it would be God. But as far as the truth value, whatever the creature decides to do, it would be the creature. And that would tailor off into weak and strong actualization.
Right. But so again, to me, right, if the God acted with intent to cause the series of events that ultimately led to the action, then to me, that's not free will.
So can I go over what, are you a soft libertarian or a compatibilist or?
I don't know if free will exists.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm a determinist. I don't know if free will exists.
Are you an incompatibilist determinist? Like, do you think they're just not compatible at all, free will and determinism? Because you don't think it exists, right?
I think that if free will exists, it must be compatible with determinism, because I think determinism is true. I don't know if it does, though.
Okay. You're willing to affirm that it exists, though, if it is compatible with determinism?
Sure.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah. So there's these conditions that I've been mulling over as far as soft libertarianism, as far as being individually necessary and jointly sufficient for some creature to possess soft libertarianism. And the fulfillment of all these little conditions here wouldn't take into account what you just said. And I'd like to go over these with you if you do not mind. Could I open a book real quick?
Yeah, go for it. I should point out that I am not horribly well read in philosophy. And what I have read has not really been in terms of like a lot of the terminology I have somewhat, but if you're going to start referencing things by like people's names, there's no way I'm going to recognize it.
I'll stay bird's eye view. I won't get into the nitty-gritty. So I'll just say there's a set of conditions that have persuaded me as far as even if I were an incompatibilist, these conditions seem to me to be individually necessary and jointly sufficient for a creature to have free will. And as far as God knowing about that, whatever the creature was going to do ahead of time, it seems like these 5 conditions are compatible with God knowing about it, especially if we're the ones that determine the truth value of the counterfactuals of creaturely freedom and not God. That would be the sticking point for me. If God determined the truth value, like with supralapsarianism and Calvinism and infralapsarianism, where in the order of the decrees, God actually does determine the truth value of these propositions, that would give me grave doubts about my free will. But that's just my musings on it. I'm actually a postgrad student in philosophy. I'm working on my PhD right now, and I'm enjoying this conversation.
So let me point out that the point where when you started saying the stuff that, like, the specific what did you say, prelapsarian?
Supralapsarianism and infralapsarianism.
I had no idea what that is.
So these are theological
Before
positions.
that, I was okay.
About the order of the decrees. So, like the decrees of God. So before he created the world, different theologians have postulated different sets of logical moments and their interrelationships in order to either preserve sovereignty or providence or freedom or whatever. But supralapsarianism actually, like, before the instantiation of a world or the creation of a world, he determines the truth value of everything about that world. Not just the instantiation of propositions, but their actual truth value, which is okay for them because they're compatibilistic. They have a whole different criteria for what is individually necessary and jointly sufficient for a creature to be free. They have different takes on the ability condition, the control condition, the Frankfurt counterexamples, the analysis of the agent, final causation, efficient causation. It gets really deep. There's a really good book by Robert Kane that you might like. He gets into this stuff. Van den Wagen, a little bit. I could put links on the side if you want.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know why you don't pursue a philosophy track, man. You're good. I would enjoy talking to you.
Well, I mean, I've got my own interests that I pursue as I have time, but I mean, like, I'm sort of actively engaged in, like, cancer research, so I don't necessarily have time for that.
Awesome.
No, Chris, I'm sure you'd look great in a tweed jacket with elbow pads.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, I have to give someone shit for doing a PhD in philosophy of religion.
Here we go. I get it all the time.
Yeah.
Also, I imagine I probably get paid more now than I would if I had a PhD in philosophy.
Of course, yes. We don't do it for the money.
Well, I don't do this for the money, and I still think I get paid more.
I know, exactly.
You do it for the chicks.
Exactly. Right away. I'm so glad I'm married now. Honestly, I can be out in the open about it.
The question is, was how much you get paid predetermined by God?
And I would say yes, but God exists.
Is that a question that you ask your wife? Oh!
What do you mean by love, honey?
Someone needs to make a philosophy skit of just Andrew Dice Clay doing philosophy sayings and philosophy jokes.
Hey, I was going to let everyone know I haven't been really listening too much. But anyways, it was nice talking with you the short period we did talk, I guess. Like I said, you guys started talking about things that's out there for me. But I appreciate you letting me on the chat. Sometime if you want to talk about things of God or whatnot, we could talk about that type of thing. But as far as this chat, I don't really have too much in relation, so I'm gonna take off.
Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy your day.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I enjoyed talking to you. I really did enjoy talking to you. Don't think that I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed talking to a lot of you. I mean, in Dragon Out or whatever he left, I think, or whatnot. I appreciate y'all.
Bye-bye.
Cool. See you later, man.
Hickory dickory dock, Sisyphus pushes the rock. Oh!
That's
don't give me motivation to do a Dice Clay impression.
You got to get a new avatar, man.
I will do it all night, and it's not going to end well.
You need to do Mitch Hedberg.
Mitch Hedberg's not as funny to do for these types of impressions.
Yeah, true. That's
and
true.
I have to be more clever to be Mitch Hedberg.
Well, with that, I want to say thanks for letting me join you guys. It was fun. There's a whole bunch of shit that I am just too stupid to understand, and I don't have an issue with that because I don't have to work for the rest of my natural life. Oh, it's good being medically retired from the military.
Yeah, me too. I got a bad hip from my
I
time.
may not be in the military myself, or have been, but my parents were in the Air Force, and
that's me. I was in the Air Force.
You're a fellow NATO serviceman at one point or another. So thank you for your service.
Yeah, but I was over at Aviano Air Base. That's a NATO-based operation.
Cool. Oh, in Italy.
I was in the Army. I was one of those dumb individuals that didn't do anything constructive in the Army. I was in combat arms, and I mean, like the smart kids, they all went in and they were Morse code interceptors, or they were intelligence interpreters, or they were interrogators, and I was a forward observer for field artillery.
Well,
awesome.
if it's any consolation to you, there's a guy called Arcane in this community who supposedly was some kind of electronics guy, and he thinks the Earth is flat, and he's an idiot.
Wait. He was also a sniper. He was also involved in artillery, right? What else did he? I wish Drag was here because he could list off all the other stuff this guy said he's done.
A notably big forehead. I learned about that from Drag.
If he was in the Army and he was a sniper, he would have went to the 29th Infantry Regiment for sniper school.
He was lying.
And he would have been taught the Coriolis effect does affect the fucking bullet when you're shooting a certain calculation.
The only thing he did in the military, right, is smoke an insane amount of weed.
Is perma high.
Is this what we call herbicide?
Could be. I do sleeping pillicide. That's my Jones nowadays. I mean, I'll admit to being not that smart with philosophy. I dropped the ball on that. Like I said, I got out of seminary as quick as I could and got away from Dayton, Ohio, and then went over. And I no longer live in America. I live in Germany, so I haven't been in the States in over 20-something years.
Whereabouts are you in Germany, if you don't mind me asking?
Southern Bavaria, near Bamberg.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Are you still
That's where I'm at right now. It's daytime.
Southern Bavaria?
I'm in Guam.
Oh, Guam. It's right around the corner. Fuck it.
I lived in Germany for 3 years.
What branch of the military were you in? MJ
Air Force. I was air traffic control in the Air Force. Yep.
I have a buddy who's in the Marines and he's working in Guam right now.
Oh, really?
That's why. Yeah, if you know
Awesome.
Gonzo Quintanilla.
No, I don't.
A lot of jiu-jitsu. Nice guy.
I got out 2 years ago. My wife's still in. That's why we're over here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I have like a weird amount of like Chamorros who are my friends.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Because I do jiu-jitsu and apparently that's huge there. So
it's huge. It's huge. Yeah.
So I'm friends with some of the big pioneers from there. Like, I don't know. I mean, like Mike Carbolito. Like, he's a huge guy from Guam who I train with. Really nice guy. But yeah, so I know like a weird, inordinate amount of people from where you're at.
30 miles long, 8 miles wide. Very small world.
I know like 20 people from there, which is like a third of your population.
Now you know 21, man.
Yeah, now I know 21, exactly.
So it's a little bit more than a third.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of know you know a little bit more than the Trinity about that. Where did you live, Cliff?
We were at a place called Larbrook, near Bruggen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's on the western side. It's near a place called Cleaver. Or Claver, sorry. It's close to the Dutch and Belgian borders.
Right. I've heard of it, never been there. Been all over Germany, but never been up in that area. I might have been. I don't remember much of the last 15 years. So I've been out since '97, and yeah, the majority of my brain cells have just pretty much gone to pot. See what I did there? Never mind. But like I said, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to go to bed after I finish this mighty big glass of whiskey because, like I said, I'm retired and I'm stupid and I like it that way.
Do you know where Mönchengladbach is?
Hmm?
You know where Mönchengladbach is?
Mönchengladbach. Yeah.
Yeah. Near there. Just to the west.
Okay. Oh, okay.
What kind of whiskey?
It is this Yamazaki Japanese single malt.
Ah. It's a solid choice.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talking Shit Tuesday. I'm your host.
I'm sorry. I will also talk for a long time about whiskey. One of the other topics.
Peated or non-peated?
Preferably with a reasonable amount of peat. Actually, if you saw the side, I said that I had been drinking specifically a small glass of Lafroig. So that's.
Ooh.
Sorry,
good. That's nice.
Did you? Oh, okay, yeah. Some people hear that and they act as though they've just been punched in the mouth.
Oh, they can't handle the peat.
It's quite nice.
What I got to ask, since we're talking about whiskey and it's Talking Shit Tuesday, what the fuck?
It's sometimes jokingly called Talking Scotch Tuesday.
Oh, okay, because I'm thinking, no, I'm not that drunk yet. Anyway, absinthe, yes or no?
I'm sorry, what?
Absinthe.
No,
I've never
Yes. Yes, absinthe.
Fuck
the only time I've had absinthe, or no, that's not true. Never mind. The first time I had absinthe, I was in Scotland and I cock blocked myself.
Sweet.
Somebody put it in front of me in like 5 different colors. I was like, I got to go from left to right, and I was like, oh. Got stronger and stronger.
I'm drinking a beer right now that I bought for only the reason that I like the name. It's called the Sour Wench. It's a blackberry ale. And like I'm that dude where I will go to a craft beer store, which there are a lot of where I'm at, and I will pick a beer with just an outrageous name.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Apparently, it's got a sister beer called Shenny.
Oh boy!
Ooh.
Oh boy!
Ooh.
I used to have a friend who got into the whole microbrewery thing, and he couldn't shut up about a fat tire.
Oh, that's not
a microbrew.
That's like the craft beer. That's like when people say they like craft beer, and that's like the entry level. That's like the Coors Light of craft beer.
That is a step above a Blue Moon. I mean, come on.
Yeah, when people say they like good beer and they drink Blue Moon, I just look at them and I'm like, no.
Even though I live in Germany, I don't drink beer. I'm not a beer drinker. Never was. I don't think I ever will be. Although Germany's got some really good beer. Helles, the Hefeweizen's pretty good. Rauch beer is also, from what I understand, really good.
The British are the ones who figured out how to make good beer.
Well, funnily enough, I've got a model railway show I'm going to in a couple of weeks' time. And we always go to Burton-on-Trent, which is kind of like the Bermuda Triangle of beer making in the UK.
But people go there and nobody ever hears from them again?
Well, it's not quite. It's more the idea that, there are so many, microbreweries and all sorts of other interesting things. So, yeah, it's quite a place.
Cool. Model railway. Oh, that I forget over here. That's a very viable thing. I don't think they have stuff like that in America.
Yeah, they do. It's massive there as well.
It's not massive in America. It's not massive in England. It's just Cliff really likes it.
Okay, well then I feel better about admitting to a certain weakness for spaceship models and Gundam.
You collect whatever you want.
I'm kind of like that too. I make Star Trek spaceship models.
Nice.
Well, then you should have been on TST when, Redline was on it. Oh, wait.
what's your name? Squircifer. If you're ever in a hangout with Cliff and you have time, ask him about his Warhammer painting. That shit looks so dope.
Oh, nice. I have over 50,000 points worth of Bretonians.
All right. Well, I've got Imperial Guard, Eldar.
Oh God, what have I done?
Imperial Fist.
You fool!
Goddamn maturity.
I think the extent of my familiarity with that goes to Skulls for the Skull Throne. So that's at that point I'm out.
Blood for the Blood God.
Yeah, right. That's the other part.
You know, a friend of mine once had Jehovah's Witnesses come over to visit, and he said he was a Cornite. And, he said, "Look, I'm a bit busy right now. I'll come back tomorrow." And in that 24 hours, he was a vampire goth who was into all sorts of stuff. And so he got like Ribena, so I don't know. Anyway, he got coffee and Ribena mixed together so it looked like blood, and had chalices around and stuff like that. Just dressed up the place. And he said he was a Cornite, blood for the blood god. Because Corn doesn't care whose blood is spilled as long as blood is spilled.
His blood is, he doesn't give two shits in a windstorm. Funny enough that you mentioned Jehovah's Witnesses. We have Jehovah's Witnesses over here as well. They're called Zeugen Jehovah's. And this is purely coincidental, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. These Jehovah's Witnesses come up, knock on the door, and they're talking to me, and I'm always nice and polite to the people because, why not? It doesn't hurt. And they give me the little thing, and I'm looking at it, and then I see, oh, Watchtower, Kingdom Hall. You guys are Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm standing here, and if I'm wearing a T-shirt, you see my tattoos, and I think 90% of my tattoos are satanic in one form or way or another. And I have a T-shirt on which has this naked chick on a couch with "All Hell Satan" in real big fucking bright white letters there. And I'm just standing there talking to these Jehovah's Witnesses like it's just, everything's really nice. And they invite me to their Kingdom Hall. And I ask if they're Russellites or the Splinter Group. And I ask about 1914. And it was a pleasant conversation. And the whole time, the one chick who spoke perfect English knew exactly what my T-shirt said. And it was just wonderful.
I thought if you're interested, mate, have a look at the screen. There's a bit of my painting.
Oh, that's sweet. That is very sweet.
And a fun preacher there.
Nice.
I like his eyes.
That looks really good. I don't have any pictures of mine because it's been in the boxes for the last, 8 years. I don't have a chance to play with too many people because where I live there are no game stores unless you want to drive for like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
And the whole Warhammer thing, they don't want anybody playing with the older models because you're not going to buy newer models, so screw you.
Yeah, depends on the store, I suppose.
Yeah, well, Germany, they're allowed to have monopolies, and the Warhammer, the Fantasy Workshop, or whatever they're called, they have this really nasty monopoly over here.
Hmm.
And for a few years after I had first got out of the military, I had a game and hobby shop in Schweinfurt, and we wanted to become an authorized Warhammer dealer, and we became a chapter store, and then we had all these rules and regulations, and the product that you get as a Warhammer chapter store is not your product. You're just basically renting it, and you get so much percentage off of your sales, like a commission sale, but you do not own the product. And should they wish, they can cancel your chartership at any time and just come in and get their product for any reason.
Oh.
Yeah. And you're not allowed to do shit like have a sale and discount your stuff because they will cancel your chartership and take your shit.
The Warhammer Gestapo.
Basically.
Warhammer Games Workshop, formerly.
Games Workshop, right.
They are not. They're a marketing company. They're not a war games company, whatever you want to call it, model company.
Right.
They're exactly the same as Microsoft or whatever, or Apple is a better example. You know, they're not a technology company; they're a marketing company. You need these things to be cool,
right?
And so when you go in the store of a Games Workshop store, you know, they're like, "Have you bought our new thing yet?"
Right.
And so they have, you know, places where you can go in and you can play games and you can paint and think and chat with your friends or whatever.
Exactly.
But you know, the goal is to get you to spend your money.
Exactly. Like with when they rebased fantasy, now you have to rebase your entire army, or you have to buy a new army.
Mm.
And that was a thing over here a few years ago that got a lot of people up in arms about it. And then when, I don't know what edition's out now, I haven't played in forever, but when the new edition came out, you had to have the rule book, and you had to play by those rules. And if you didn't have the rule book, you needed to buy it to be allowed to play in their official store tournaments. It's really centered on selling the product, and you know, who gives a rat's ass once I got your money.
Well, the good thing is that the rules are free now, and they're much more simplified.
Okay, well, like I said, I've been out of it for quite a long time.
Are you still in Germany then?
Yeah.
It's the rules 999. Sorry.
999. 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the most guttural language on the planet. You can have a pleasant conversation with a German, and you can say, "Good morning, I like the way you look," and you sound like you're trying to tear its head off.
I don't know. Have you ever heard of Glaswegian?
Yeah.
Drunkenese? Oh, no, that's more slurred. Sorry.
Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah, okay.
Have you ever heard of Jeff Heisenberg talk? You would understand.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Actually, speaking of, are you new to this community?
Yeah, in the sense of being a member and active in it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then eventually, if you're around here long enough, you'll see Jeff Heisenberg. He's
cool.
he's a Northern Irelander who you need to really buckle down to like hear what he's saying. I love him to death, but you need to really focus.
I love that.
Does everybody remember Stizor? I haven't seen him in a long time, but
I love that motherfucker so much.
He has the most abrasive voice I've ever heard.
The fucking
I know.
Axiom.
It's a fucking axiom, mate.
I used to debate this guy years and years and years ago, back when Yahoo Chat was a thing, and he was from Scotland, and he was from some backwater part of Scotland. I couldn't tell you where it was if my life depended on it, and we got in this conversation about the purity of Jesus.
Did he have a vagina in his forehead?
Quite possible. Never saw him. He went by General Matt.
I'm guessing it's the same guy.
It sounds like the same guy, Matt Bell.
Actually, it very well
Okay,
could be.
Who can do a good Matt Bell?
Was it text only or was it voice?
Voice.
Okay, what you do? No.
Can anybody do this? You got it now? Is that the guy?
It very well might be.
I wish I knew how to readily pipe audio.
Very well. He got to talking about, and Jesus was poor. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? He was poor? No. He was trying to say pure, and I had no clue. And we went on for about 15 minutes over poor. And he's like trying to be like, no, he's pure.
Did he ever say anything about like the premises of an argument?
Does
that word stand out to you?
No, not really.
Of preaching and evangelism.
Oh, there you go.
And that's specifically tailored to his audience. So if he's speaking to the,
Is that good?
If it was him, that'd be enough.
It sounds very familiar. Yeah, I heard that. It could very well be him. If you guys ever encounter him again, ask him if he ever chatted and debated in Yahoo and debated an idiot named Squirrel.
I miss Matt. I don't know what's happened to him. He's gone.
Oh.
Was he possibly the most aggressive and arsehole-ish person you come across?
Yeah, if I was to rate the country on a scale, yeah, he would be
That's
up there.
really unfair because I mean, yes, he's a complete cunt, but the way that he does it is remarkably consistent and amusing. Right?
Yeah. Sure, granted. But
he was a valuable addition to the community.
He was aggressive in his arguments.
Yes. He was aggressively cunty, but amusing.
Yeah, well, this is years and years ago. This is back when Yahoo Chat was an actual thing.
Oh wow!
So,
Christopher, you're a stronger man than I, because I can't stand those fuckers.
Yeah. Well, I go through these phases where I want to talk and I want to debate Christians and I want to debate theological premises and all this shit. And then nowadays when I engage in this shit, I realize, number one, I'm an idiot. Number two, number one. Number three, the fuck are you talking about? Refer to number one. Because when you guys got in your modal conversation and this whole determinism and this really intense philosophical thing, I was just standing there and I'm shaking my head and I'm like, no, I'm going to mute my mic and go fucking eat something because I don't know what you guys are talking about. Because this is like back when I was active and a young pup, I used to know things, and now I'm this old dude who just don't care.
Christopher, welcome to my world. I'm too stupid to understand them too, and I'm like 25, so.
Yeah, well, I'm 49.
Oh, I'm 44.
Yeah, you're on the other side of happy too.
35.
Yep. See, the thing that makes me feel better, though, you can be an asshole and a cunt, but you're a finite asshole. And eventually, your assholishness will cease. And if I'm lucky enough, I will surpass you, and I will get to live on while you are a dead asshole.
Except that, right? Matt Bell's assholishness is immortalized forever online.
Yeah, so is mine in places.
But the thing is, like, everybody will have to aspire to be as big an asshole as him. For the rest of time, right? The rest of time, people will have to go back and think, I'm the biggest asshole there ever was. Look at this video of Matt Bell. Oh, shit.
Does the name Brent Keane say anything?
Brett Keane? Yeah, everyone knows Brett Keane here.
Before you go to Brett Keane, I don't think that God could create a bigger arsehole than It's like there's that thing about could God create a rock that he couldn't even lift? Could God create a bigger arsehole than Matt Bell? It's along the same lines. I don't think it's quite possible.
Darwin's deity.
I don't know. I had a couple of soldiers that if we ever went to a combat situation again, I'd shoot him my goddamn self.
What about Darwin's deity?
What about who's that fuck from the early days? Like he was like a young guy who ended up going to work for Kent Hovind.
Eric.
Anyway, the one of the Hovins. He worked for the Hovind and he was in his broom closet. Fuck, what was his name? Venom Fang X.
Oh, that guy.
Venom Fang X was a fucking chode.
Yeah.
What's really entertaining though is there's actually conversations between Matt Bell and Darwin's deity that are like the clash of the titans.
Really, I'll have to check those out if they're still available.
I believe that's cunt bags. Clash of the cunt bags.
So there's a question from one of the 17 people who are still watching us. Wanted to know, MJ, if you are a theist.
I'm a Christian theist. Yep.
Cool.
So I don't know if that does it for the chat.
How do you get to the chat? I'm still kind of learning this stuff.
One second, MJ. I'll go to Cliff's. Actually, I don't even know if I can. 1 second. Let's see if I can find Cliff's channel.
It took me about 45 minutes to figure out how to get into the Hangout.
Yeah,
I'm Sicilian. There we go. This guy asked a question.
Oh no, Cliff's got you back. Here we go.
If you click the link that I put in the side, that'll go straight to the live chat.
I found it. I refreshed my screen because I subscribed to Cliff Jumper, and then I saw that there was a live thing, and I clicked on it.
Yeah, I've actually have 35 people watching at some point, I believe.
Holy crap, Cliff! That's probably a record.
It is for me. Possibly. I may have had more once when I ran a couple of I ran a couple of TSTs while JD was away having
Importantly, that means that 18 people have made it through the long digression about Warhammer.
And of course, the hardcore.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, I don't know
I tried to.
why.
I tried to resist to.
People still actually paying attention. Why are you still watching this? I want to know. Just go ahead and post it in the chat. I'm curious.
They want to hear about our Lord Satan.
Motherfucker, anybody in this community isn't well adjusted enough to understand when they have to leave.
Oh, and by the way, just if for anybody watching, buttering me up is perfectly acceptable. Thank you.
What about Aleister Crowley?
Good man.
I mean, did he precede LeVay? Was that the person you mentioned?
Yeah, he preceded LeVay, although he was more, I wouldn't say he was satanic in the sense that his philosophy could be classified as Satanism. He was more along the lines of, I have a hard on, let's do some magic.
Oh, he was a magician.
Yeah, he was into this whole esoteric mumbo jumbo and magical, the celestial temple of the celestial dawn or some shit like that. I'm not really sure. I'm not too familiar with Crowley because he never interested me. I've never been interested in the whole supernatural aspect of any religion, to be brutally honest. And yeah, but Aleister Crowley, good man, fucked anything that moved. Can't argue with that. Died because he lived like an absolute fucking wreck and put whatever he could into his body when he could, and it's admirable.
I'd like to point out, I think you could argue with him fucking anything that moved if you were the person that was being fucked and you didn't really appreciate it.
Minor details, but I tell you what, roofie someone and they're not going to mind.
Ouch.
They will eventually.
Well, eventually, true.
Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, no evil. Rohypnol.
Rohypnol.
Cliff, I never thought I'd hear something like that come out of your mouth. That's hilarious.
Well, a lot of like when people go, "You're a Satanist," what the fuck?
Okay,
it's
quick moment of digression to address Brother Sanchez TV.
Oh,
the Earth is not flat, which you would know if it's a little bit too late to actually go into it, but that's really dumb.
Is he actually just? Oh my God! Why do these people exist?
Oh, Pillbox's show. Because he's a first earther and he speaks the truth. Yeah.
It's not an opinion that the Earth is not flat. It's factually true to say that the Earth is not flat.
It's just a theory.
You know,
go find a gun and shoot myself. Oh, I hate that shit.
Look, yeah, the only proof you need to present to these flat tards is the following: if the Earth was flat, cats would have knocked everything off by now. And that's about the amount of intelligence that shit deserves.
I don't know if it was an optical illusion or not, but when I went up in an F-16, when I was in the Air Force, I was a passenger. I wasn't flying it. It looked curved up there. I mean, I saw it with my own eyes.
Although I wasn't up high enough to see whether or not it was curved, I've had buddies that were Halo qualified that could attest to it. I've jumped, I think the highest I've jumped was maybe 15,000 feet, but they've jumped higher. But I'm sorry. It's not that I want to, that I've been indoctrinated with this all my life. It's just some of the education I had in the military wouldn't work on a flat Earth.
Well, I mean, I think it's amusing that they always like to talk about, you see all these like high altitude things, but they always use the fisheye lens, right?
Right.
And recently there was something that made it onto the trending on YouTube where some guy sends up a rectilinear lens looking at a piece of garlic bread, And yeah, it was up high enough to you see. Yeah, fucker's curved. It's like it's a curve right there. It's from one side to the other. It's a curve.
Yeah, that's just what it looked like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've been at 44,000 feet, and it looked curved from there as well.
Yeah, I was at like 49. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you guys are, your perspective is a little skewed. Either that, or you guys are obviously shills.
It's
hologram. We're being paid off by the government to say that the Earth has a fucking curve.
Also, another incident of somebody using rectilinear lens, which you only really use if you're actually looking at something close, but that's not the point. The Starman stream, when Musk put a Tesla around orbit of the sun, yeah, you could see the Earth pretty well that it was curved on that.
No, that's CGI.
Oh, well.
They say it's a slightly inflated pizza, so like the crust is kind of curved, even though the entire structure is flat. That's a rationalization I've heard.
So,
the biggest threat for the flat Earth people is mathematics, because they almost certainly don't know mathematics.
I don't know mathematics, and I know the flat Earth shit just doesn't work.
Well, you don't even need mathematics. You just, like, every once in a while, you look up into the sky, you're like, what are these fucking circles over here? Oh, shit. What are the circles? What are the circles? Are they, like, I've heard projections. I'm like, what the fuck are you smoking? I've smoked a lot of shit in my day. I don't believe that shit.
Hang on, though. Don't you remember that a certain person in this community, large Christian, sometimes wobbles around all over the place, drunken rambles. She did once say, and there's a card for it. There's no moon.
No moon. Interesting.
Does she have no eyes? I'm a blind man and I can see the fucking moon.
It's a hologram. Didn't you know?
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I'll engage people smarter than me, and they can have PhDs. But if I find out they're a flat earther, I don't bother with it because, to be brutally honest, my real stance on whether the Earth is flat or globular is the following: does it feed me, fuck me, or finance me? No, I don't need it. It's unimportant.
No, but when you start your flat Earth T-shirt shop, it will finance you.
Oh yeah, I've got the cat on the flat Earth knocking shit off, man, and I've got the squirrel with the devil horns, squirrel, Lucifer. Never mind. Anyway, I want to become a YouTube evangelist personally for my Lord Satan.
If the Earth is not flat, I've heard, then how did they put it? The Earth's flat because our shoes are flat. If the Earth were curved, the shoes would be curved a little bit. I heard that the other week. I swear, I promise.
Yeah, but not all shoes are flat either, too. Fuck, they're stupid.
Was that someone's actual argument?
I swear, I heard it on YouTube. I promise you.
What?
You guys know who Lord Stephen Christ is?
What's that?
You guys know who Lord Stephen Christ is? He's used to be big on here on YouTube. Then he went to
Wasn't he committed?
I have no idea anymore. But what he was proposing is that the Earth was inverted, so we're actually on the inside.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was committed for a while.
Thank God.
I could deal with that a little bit better than a flat Earth, because I was rather smitten with that episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation when they happened upon the Dyson sphere. I always thought that was interesting. Okay, all right, no, I'm lying, but I'm a Satanist. I'm allowed to lie. Fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There's this one guy that I find entertaining, the Jeranism. You guys know that?
Yeah, we know Jeranism, or most of us know Jeranism.
I find him and that Eric Dubé guy just absolutely hilarious to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hilarious.
That TNG episode was pretty good, actually.
Well, I mean, these are people who get stumped by basic mathematics. So, what are you gonna do? Teach them mathematics? You
No.
can't. They won't let you.
Mathematics is a shill.
You challenge them to a boxing match. You teach them about gravity.
They're immune to all.
It's just density, man. It's just density.
Yeah, it
It's
weighs a
always
little. It's just different
travel for them.
weights.
I heard it's because it's going up at high speeds or something like that. That same feeling you get when the elevator goes up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've argued. I've heard that argued as
It would
well.
be going faster than the speed of light then. By several hundred orders of magnitude at least.
Oh wow. Okay.
I think the number is like 6,000 times the speed of light.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, wouldn't it eventually slow down? I mean, is there some is this plane of existence infinite where this flat Earth exists?
If it stopped accelerating, then the force would stop.
Uh-huh.
So it has to continue. It's not just that it has to continue moving; it has to continue accelerating.
Accelerate. So, like the majority of flat Earthers you encounter, are they young Earth creationists as well?
They're mostly just idiots.
Oh,
Fucking morons.
Then I feel better being as dumb as I am.
What I don't understand is their justification. What happens if they're right? Nothing fucking changes.
No.
Nothing. Not a thing.
Well, except for all of physics stops working.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know if they're right. The possibility that God made the pizza disc on the back of the flying turtle is real.
I think that's the reason that MG42 really likes the idea, is because he's a big fan of turtles. So or tortoises at least.
Now, if the Earth were spinning at high speeds, they claim that we would feel that, right? And the fact that we don't feel it is absurd. I've heard that too.
I like to point out that when they say the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour, it's also true that the Earth is spinning as fast as the hour. Not as fast, half as fast as the hour hand on a clock goes.
Correct. Yep, it's true.
That's not very fast.
Well, Galilean relativity takes care of that. I mean, even when you're on a plane, you can drop something in my lap; it doesn't move.
Yeah, but you're using science, yo.
Scientia.
You're not allowed to use science when you talk with a flat earther. That's why I limit a lot of
logic.
Yeah, that's why I limit a lot of like when I talk to individuals, I dumb my shit down. One, because I don't know what I'm talking about, and two, because I don't want to get into these really technical things, because then you sit there and you argue this technical shit for an hour and a half, and you could just go, God done it, and that pretty much sums up your argument.
Well, I got blocked by Arcane because I pointed out the fact that he wanted to say that you should be able to see a ship tilting in the distance. I pointed out that in order to see the ship tilting in the distance, it would have to be 14 kilometers tall, and that's a big goddamn ship.
Yes, it is.
And he blocked me shortly thereafter. I think it's possibly because I said he was illiterate, but that's
well. How does he explain
which was strange? So? Which was honestly a really poor choice of words on my part, because I said that in a text communication.
You got to put an emoticon after it, man.
Funny enough, I got blocked today for saying someone was illiterate. Because he used the wrong "your." And
was it G-Man?
There, sorry, there. He put there when it's supposed to be EIR.
Was it G-Man? Cliff?
No, it wasn't G-Man. It was a taxi driver in London.
Oh. That's why you never put shit in a text or email ever. Because it'll haunt you. I got banned from this guy's channel because he was talking about how great it's going to be when he gets to be with Jesus, and he can't wait, to see his family again. And I was like, really? Then why don't you kill yourself so you can get there a little bit faster, and then you ain't got to worry about all this trial and tribulation on earth. You get to hang out with your family unless your uncle's up there. Because I know what your uncle did to you, but go ahead and kill yourself, get it over with, and, why bitch, why preach? All you got to do is, pull the trigger, press the button, put your head inside the oven, and you are no longer allowed. You do not have and I got banned.
Yeah, but I mean, that's sort of not cool, though. I mean,
yeah. I don't think I could do that.
I could understand the justification for saying that. I just wouldn't say it.
Yeah,
I think I could only do such things if someone was being really, really obnoxious about it.
I have an abrasive personality to begin with, and I don't worry about saying anything because I really don't care. Majority of the shit that I'll say will be tongue in cheek, and I'll admit that up front. I don't take hardly anything seriously because I've seen enough to know what the end's going to be anyway. And just being serious about it doesn't do you any good. It just leads you to the grave faster.
I agree with that. I like that sentiment actually.
Yeah, I've said before that I'm happy to rise or fall to the common denominator of the chat, which I try to hold myself to. So, people are being assholes, then I think that's the right approach to take. And
yeah, of course, I don't go into something being an asshole. Yeah. It depends. The factors, determine whether or not I become me.
But, I think I just remain the same.
Well, I mean, it's the same personality, but like that you don't address the same topics in the same way, right? If you're talking about philosophy, you're gonna have a particular attitude about it, and if somebody's being a dick and you're trying to point that out, you're going to talk about it in a slightly different manner, right? You're not going to.
Of course.
Not really. There's actually, I wish it was still up, but I was actually talking to Matt Bell, and I didn't change my tone whatsoever. I was the same the whole time.
I think it is still up. There's a conversation between me and Matt Bell. Believe me, I changed my tone.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, heck with it. He's going to yell at me. I don't care. I'll just keep talking until he doesn't like me anymore.
I find that I lose my patience after a certain degree in a debate with someone, especially now. I'm singling out Christians mainly because it's the majority of people that I engage with as an atheist, but not as a Satanist, and I just get frustrated. And once I get past that one point, it goes from I agree with you completely to are you a daft cunt or what?
See, I'd just laugh if you called me that.
It's just like I'm not gonna. I've
been called worse in basic training.
Yes, I went back in basic training when they were still allowed to hit you.
Oh yeah, they could hit us too. Then that went away in 2012.
Yeah, but I feel like a big part of the reason that I'm doing this, well, first it's because I find it entertaining, right? And then secondly, I hope that it's entertaining for everybody else.
Yeah, that's why I do it as well.
Audio issues.
No, sorry.
I hope it's entertaining for everybody else, and so I feel like if I'm in a conversation with Matt Bell or somebody like that, what's the most entertaining thing going to be? For me and for everybody else, it's probably not going to be like sit back and let him ramble.
Exactly.
So what do you do? Do you get louder or do you get more sarcastic? What do you do?
Whatever I feel is most appropriate at the time.
Okay.
The sarcasm's going to come out pretty fast, and then I'm fairly good at continuing to talk while people try to talk over me. It's not even about being louder. It's just it's about the way that you talk, and it'll just cut through whatever they're trying to say over you, and that's an effective thing too.
Cool. I usually like when I reach the point of no return, I'm completely unfiltered. Unfortunately for me, I live in a country where you are not allowed to say what you think. Contrary to what people like to think about Germany, certain things can and will get you either in front of a court or in fucking jail, if not beaten seriously by the Polish.
I would think that the Germans wouldn't be terribly fond of your profile picture.
No, they don't. They're not. My German friends ask me what the fuck.
Now, could somebody report what you say on a Google Hangout and get you in trouble?
No.
Okay.
As long as I don't say it in an official manner on a German-based website or in a political rally or to someone who has the authority to fuck you over, basically, like the Holocaust deniers. If you try that shit in Germany, they will hem you up in a heartbeat, and they won't even think twice. Yeah,
So like actual like jail time.
Yeah, actual jail time.
It's the position of Germany, I think, that yes, we did that, and we're really ashamed of it. And if you say we didn't, we're going to punish you because otherwise it looks like we're trying to hide it.
Yeah, it could be. I think it's that, and the fact that they feel that they have to do that in order to shake that bad rap that they got all those years ago.
Yeah.
My wife, there's certain aspects of World War II that I know about from high school history, my grandfather, and being an American that she wasn't aware of as a German, and she's from East Germany, so even more so. And I find it amazing. Like, for instance, certain publications are illegal over here, and if you're caught with them, you can be fined significant amount of money.
Yeah.
Animal Farm.
Well, I heard a joke from an American comedian who's in Germany for a while. He was saying that there are war memorials everywhere. It's kind of like being in the American South, except they're ashamed of it.
True.
That's
I agree.
hilarious.
That is, but it's absolutely true.
Interesting.
Absolutely true. All the war monuments, of course, are in relation to the Jews, the number of Jews who was killed here and whatnot. You don't see anything that glorifies the German army of that time period anywhere.
The same guy made a joke that there are no statues of Hitler, but it would be useful in some situations if there were. For instance, if you were breaking up with your girlfriend, you could do it in front of the statue. So when she says, "Oh, you're just the worst," turn and go, "Really?
Really?" Yeah, but I become unfiltered, and I will say shit that'll get me in trouble even in America. I just don't care. And I have to watch that because it has consequences here anyway. And sometimes it has consequences on the net as well. If I could count the number of people I've offended just because, it'd be a hefty amount. I could retire more so than I could now.
Yeah, you're already retired, man.
Yep. Which makes it even more like, who gives a flying rat's ass, And it's just like, my wife's got cancer. Fuck, you're going to get some life insurance soon, huh? And that's completely inappropriate, so people tell me. But when that filter comes off, it's just like, too bad.
I think the most inappropriate I've ever been when it came to religion was a discussion that I saw about which gun would be biblical to own, and I posted a picture of a nail gun.
Oh,
that's horrible.
Man, you're being a real savage tonight, Cliff. Goddamn. Oh, goodbye, Chris. First, thanks for saying goodbye.
I'm sorry, that's not actually true at all. It was just a joke.
That's fucking hilarious. I'm sorry.
But it was a funny joke I saw once.
It was.
It had to be said just for the lols. Actually, the worst I've ever done is a friend of mine in America used to be a preacher, and I once told them that when I was a kid, I used to have an invisible friend that used to go with me wherever we went. I used to talk to him and stuff. And then I grew up and I stopped believing in Jesus.
I remember coming back from the Gulf, and my parents are fundamentalist Christians. My dad still is a fundamentalist Christian, and this amazing thing is he's fucking senile now, and he still holds on, and he's still really sharp and crisp about the Bible. And but I got back, and I was on leave, and flew back and they picked me up and we drove home, and they wanted to throw a little party for me. And unbeknownst to me, this party was all these idiots that I grew up with in the church. And, you know, they were doing this whole God spiel, and it was so great that Jesus protected me spiel. And I was just downright brutal. And I think within 15 minutes, everybody left but my one friend. And he was the one friend that we used to do drugs together. So he was just like, fuck, that's more shit for us, dude. And that was, my mom said that was extremely brutal, some of the shit that I said to these people.
Mm.
So,
yeah,
but
I do find it comical when I see the American sort of Christian right, and they'll sort of talk about America being a Christian nation and stuff like that. And it's like, it's like, oh, so the universe is billions of years old, and America is 200 years old, and that's when God chose a team.
Exactly.
Also, goodbye, MJ. Thanks for saying goodbye.
I enjoyed the chat, guys who left prematurely.
Yeah, Becky, I didn't realize.
Just interrupt and say goodbye. It's real easy. Oh, nice to meet you, MJ, if you're still around.
Yeah, no, there aren't, Shah. There's now 16, which is amazing. I can't believe 16 people are watching.
Speaking of, just really quick, I have to address someone in chat. Morgan, holy fuck, I haven't seen you in eternity. Holy shit. Sorry. Okay, I'm done.
Cool. Yeah, billions of years old, and yet only the last 10 minutes in the timeline, God took notice of America.
Yeah.
Whenever an American tells you America is a Christian nation, ask them if they're familiar with the Treaty of Tripoli.
Mm.
And if they're not, shake your head and walk away. Yep. Well, it's been really fun. I hope to do this again sometime. I enjoyed myself. Thanks for allowing me to participate.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Yeah.
Nice
So,
to meet you.
yeah, you guys have fun. I'm done now. My glass is empty, and now the room's starting to move while I'm sitting down.
And so there's only me and Geordie left, and Geordie's boring. I think
Hey, Cliff, you can go fuck yourself.
I think I'm going to end the broadcast now. So for the 16 people who are still watching, thank you.
Shark 'em in.
Thank you very much, you guys. You guys were awesome. I loved the chat. That was hilarious.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Enjoy the day.
See you guys later.
Big dicks are bad for your health. Stay black.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Okay. So thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Thank you again.